Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Casting the Spotlight episode number 139.
Nearly at the 140 mark.
Oh yeah,
Just
really
the two of
close.
us back in the studio.
It wasn't too long ago we had Randall Johnson make his debut in this podcast in 130, so continuing to bring in new people, continuing to...
Yeah, you just caught me off guard because I can't gauge time anymore, and when you said his name, I was like, man, was that not that long ago?
Yeah,
that felt like a minute ago.
It was, yeah, it was. It was
like
130.
I know we recorded a number of episodes, but...
In the 130s, we introduced, Corey had never officially been on the podcast, and Randall obviously was new too.
Yeah. Some first timers. Some good returning guests. Some good times were had. We're reaching the end of them.
Just to reflect back, because I'll probably make the tail of the tape post here pretty soon, but this is our 5th solo episode in the 130s too, so we've been giving them strong content as far as the solos go. We've done over 60, just me and you now, and we've done like 73, 74 or so, more than that, with guests, so it's damn near 50-50 still, even to this day.
Yeah.
So it can stand on its own 2 legs, and we have had a ton of people in here. 50 people.
Yeah.
So that's a lot, crazy. Man. Like I said before, that's a party. We could throw a casting the spotlight party.
We could. It would have to be. What do you think? Would it be more formal? We'd have to make it formal.
Yeah.
People got to show up in dresses. And
oh yeah,
suits.
you got to wear a suit.
We'd be serving
I was
stuff
watching
out of, punch bowls.
I was watching an episode of because I've been behind. We were talking some just different animation characters and just different TV show characters on our segment last week and everything, or I guess the episode before last week before it was on, and there was this episode of Family Guy was just make me crack up because I'm I haven't watched the newest episodes of Family Guy in a while. It's been more than a year, maybe closer to 2 or whatever, and it was just a silly comment, but this one dude just oh, back in my day, this was this much, fucking a suit cost a nickel, a house cost a nickel, a dime was a nickel. But honestly, yeah, it's you look at fucking this goddamn economy, everything's expensive as fuck.
Yeah.
Money's not worth shit anymore. You gotta buy shit with your soul.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know exactly what you're about to say.
That receipt that kind of went viral, that lady shared, I think it was her Instacart receipt from January 2020 to now.
I believe it, whatever it is.
And it was it was the same 30 items.
Yeah. In
January 2020 it was $71 and something. And then now it was $138.
Dude, that's what I mean. Everything is a time and a half or 2.5 times what it was.
It was damn near double.
Now everybody has, and I'm not trying to start. Keep in mind, let's just keep this on a, because I don't want to make any of this fucking
it's not,
shit.
We're not gonna go.
No, yeah, no. I don't want to. I don't want to go political with any of it, anyways. But it's a fact that we left one of the best, if not the best, economy in the history of the country, and that's not an exaggeration. You look back at any statistic you want to, at unemployment, at everything. It is so far removed now from what it was. And there's more at play than just, the president, obviously. That's why I'm not oh, this is a fucking left versus right or this versus that thing. It's not even just that. But it is so much removed from where we were, and it is fucking wild. But just having a lighting weird thing right there going on. What are they trying to do? They're trying to turn the cams off on us.
Yeah.
But
just caught me off guard. I was what?
Yeah, me too. I was just somebody fucking with something? But no, it's crazy because it's man, that is that's not right. That's fucking insane. And it's just, at the end of the day too, not to, like I said, we just said, oh, let's not get into this and try to, because one way or another, you're gonna turn half the people off by stating what your opinion is on shit.
Yeah.
But it's at the same time, there's a lot of, at the end of the day, none of these people that are in this figurehead position, which is president or whatever, it's like, if the House and the Senate don't want to pass your shit, you're just a figurehead anyway. You know what I mean? It don't fucking matter what you stand for. Like, they're only going to pass what they want to. And most of the time, by the time that shit gets through, it's watered down as fuck anyway.
Oh, yeah. Because you got to appease everybody.
Yeah.
On the way to getting it passed.
So
it's
good, better, the same, vice versa. You know, like whatever you stand for. It's just, you know. And I will say too, it's like, I know you probably saw and heard about that fucking assassination attempt. That shit was crazy. I mean, okay, regardless of anything that he said or Biden said or anything like that, like, I would not have wanted to see somebody get fucking murdered on live TV no matter fucking what.
It would have been a wild
that would have caused
American moment.
So much shit, dude.
I'm in that boat too, where it's kind of like, you know, regardless.
You don't want him.
Regardless of how
you don't want him
you
dead.
feel about him, you don't really want it to end with a gunshot to the head on stage.
Oh, okay.
Like,
that would have made things so much worse. If you
it would have. It would have. Everything would have been so much worse. Like, I don't know. I know, like, they showed the shooter. He was a young dude. He was like 20, 21. He was, you know, he looked like a pretty nerdy guy, and that's not. I'm not like trying to like talk shit on him even. But he did say that he was like a bully. He was bullied and all this kind of shit in high school, and he didn't fit in.
The shooters at Columbine said that they were
it's
fucking.
That kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Nobody's gonna stand up for them.
It's kind of like, but dude, come on. Just because you know how many motherfuckers were bullied, that's your excuse.
Yeah.
For trying to shoot somebody in the head, you know.
Well, and the other thing of it is, I thought it would be, and I'm not trying to be like a sly and underlying and like whatever, but like I was surprised because I really didn't see a whole lot of people say anything crazy about it either. I mean, if you go to comment sections and stuff, you're always going to see some crazy shit, but I also didn't see a whole lot of negativity from anybody that I'm friends with or anything like that. Talk about like, oh, you know, and to tell you the truth, it would be a little hypocritical to see a bunch of people who don't believe in guns to want this man assassinated. Yeah. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
it's
what far left liberals conflicting their morals with, oh, wanting this person dead, and oh, I don't believe in guns. Oh, what do I choose? Shut the fuck up. That's what you should choose.
Yeah, far anything is not the way to go.
It's not. It's just, you know, it's, to be honest, once you sit down and talk to real people in real time, your friends, your family, not at a holiday, just as a person, you realize you have way more in common with somebody than you really.
Well, that's the thing. You have commonalities with everybody,
you know.
But it does get like, I've definitely had opinion-based conversations with people before. I hate having them, but I've had them with people before where I'm like, wow, I don't really see the way they see things at all. But I've never been the type of person to just be like, now I'm gonna get heated with this motherfucker and hate them forever. You know what I mean? It's just,
well, and to be honest, like just like anybody that would have said, oh man, I fucking wish it would have done. And like the thing is, I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with everything the other guy says, who is our current president either. But I don't want to see him get shot between the fucking eyes on TV either. You know what I mean?
You don't really.
So it's like,
you don't really wish that to be a moment.
No, and to be honest, that says more about you if you say that, especially on social media, than it does about what actually happened.
I will say though,
you know,
it is a bit surprising to me that there hasn't been an attempt.
No, that's what I thought too. That's what I said too.
I figured during his presidency somebody would have tried. To be honest,
I kind of was, honestly, I was thinking that too. I was like, it's a little bit, but the thing is, it's one of those, you know, I don't know, it's one of those weird things because a lot of people bet that the president preceding him was going to get assassinated too.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of, the racist
Hate
people. There's
in this
hate.
world.
There's regardless, and I think it got amped with the person before him, and then with him it got even more amped, and then it just kind of grew. But to be honest with you, as much as people are like, oh, it's so bad now and everything, I don't really feel like, maybe it's just because I've paid less attention now too, I don't really feel as amped up as I was years ago about it either. You know what I mean? I mean, we definitely need to do
we've
something
matured,
about
though, too, and I'm not like trying. This is gonna sound terrible, whatever way I put it, but I'm here now, so I guess. But like, I can see with like my girlfriend and her sister, they're like a little younger, and like just that generation, they're really getting into this election. You know what I mean? And they're like very, very serious about, oh well. If Trump gets in, he said this is going to happen, and he's going to do this, and he's going to pass this, and they're going to take away, they're going to basically make women nothing, and it's like,
that's not going to happen.
This is what I'm like trying to explain.
Yeah.
Is like,
this is not going to happen no matter what happens.
Every single and I'm young, even, and my dad is probably thinking this whenever I was coming in, getting into it, but it was like, every single president that is coming into trying to get elected makes these inflated fucking promises that says they're going to do this and this and that. It's not going to be the way they say it's going to be ever. Mm-hmm. Because they have to pass it through the House, the Senate, all these things that is filled with both Republicans and Democrats. It's
and independents.
Exactly the way they're thinking in their head by the time that it gets passed.
No, and independents. And there's always absent voters that also affect the vote. There's a lot of things that can affect it, and like not just that, every single one of them, no matter what political party. And first of all, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure in doing so we both stand against our system only having a two-party fucking system. Yeah. But
I feel like things would be a little less hated upon each other
if there was more options.
If you had 5 or 6 people that were just up for president every time the election came around, and everybody just picked.
You just elected them based on their policies, not their tribalism.
Listen to what
or
they actually had to say and what they were trying to do.
Because you'd realize that you're like, wow, I'm only going with this side or this side because I like these few things they say, not because I agree with everything. You know what I mean?
They make you kind of pick. Because elections are the less of two evil. They make you pick you don't like the candidate you vote for over half the time. There's a problem with that.
Yeah. Well, and it's always
have to.
The problem with both parties anyway is like the most popular names in either party are the ones that win. It's not who's going to do the best job. It's the most popular name in each party.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And that sounds cliche, but it's what happens every time. Oh shit! His wife, his husband, his son or whoever used to be in this position or whatever. Oh, fucking, or he was a vice president or he was whatever.
Put him in this spot.
Why? They're rarely ever, the most known name is rarely ever the best choice for even that party.
Yeah. I mean, they it's because they get involved in politics because if their dad's a senator or a president or whatever the fuck, and they're old enough, eventually they start being in their cabinet. You know what I mean? They start overseeing something that they're doing to just get involved. It's kind of like getting involved in the family business, but their family business happens to be politics.
It's nepotism in the political realm.
Yeah, and it really, it's like, it almost, when you put it that way, it almost sounds like we're a monarchy. Because it's it's just the prominent families that are already in politics.
I have,
That's
honestly...
why, there is outsiders, too, that come, I've always thought in my head, how do you, and I'm not even saying, I don't disparage people for becoming politicians, because obviously we need them if we're going to do shit. But it's
what did me and you say several episodes ago? It might have been 20 episodes ago. I don't even know. Oh, no, it might have been last year. We both said, once we came to the realization, we're not to cut you off, but I was going to say, we both realized, we're wow, the problems that we really have, the scientific, oh shit, there's not enough resources, there's not enough gas, there might not be enough food, There might not be enough clean energy sources to get all your needs and supplies from. We're going to need more than electing somebody to political office to solve these problems. We're going to need the world's most innovative minds to do this. Not the fucking people that can win an election.
But none of those people, like the scientists that are in the lab trying to work
people
on
like
shit,
Elon Musk,
they're
throwing
never
aside-
going to want to run.
throwing aside
Musk might.
throwing aside like what anybody, oh, I think this about him because he said this. Okay, he's still one of the most innovative minds in the fucking game today, no matter what you think. What he's trying to do for the future.
None of those guys ever.
No, they don't.
Want to run? No. Because they're so smart.
Yeah,
they're like,
no.
There ain't no fucking way I want to.
No,
do
that's
that.
what I, yeah. So it's like
they want to handle the issues.
We've
hands on. They don't want to oversee everybody.
We've almost, like, I hate to say it. Here's the thing. I don't have an alternative, but we've almost outgrown innovational wise what we set up. And the founding fathers were smart as fuck for their time, for sure. And they were.
They lived in
what
the era they lived in. That's what I try to explain a lot. Were some of them definitely fucked up for 2024?
Okay, but that's
of course.
But that's 250 fucking years later.
Like, and I'm not even saying that some of the shit that they put in the original Declaration of Independence, like, not that we could never add to that or ever revise things or whatever for modern times, but it's like what they laid out was pretty fucking agreeable.
It was. It still is.
Like,
there's a reason why it went in the order it did, and free speech came before anything. And guess what? The Second Amendment came second. And I know we're both supporters of the Second Amendment. And the Second Amendment is supposed to protect the First Amendment.
It's supposed to protect you against the government. That's what they initially planned on it for.
And that was them. They were the ones going into the office.
It was a much smaller scale of having to deal with
the government
and things.
The government was never designed to be this big.
But now we're on this scale, so it is kind of like, well, even still having our fire. That's kind of what I thought about. Yeah, is it protecting us from our own government? Maybe. But if worst came to worst and they sick the military on us, what is our fucking 12 gauge in our house?
If it seemed completely immoral, I don't think the military would all agree with them, though.
No.
That's the thing.
I certainly don't either.
Regardless, I don't think they would side with their families, their brothers, their sisters, their citizens.
I think it kind of, they touched on that in The Walking Dead and the ones who live, remember, like with Okafor.
Interesting.
And kind of like talking about, well, he knew a lot of these people in the stadium he was supposed to be blowing up. You know, it was his wife and it was like his friends and his people like he was in a city with.
That's
so do you
crazy.
Use that to try to save the rest of humanity, or do you save the people you know?
That's so crazy that came way after all the shit that we saw them go through the first 10, 11 seasons.
Yeah.
You know?
We got, well, his story, that's the thing, his arc was like, I'm not to spoil if you haven't watched it, but if you're a Walking Dead fan, you probably watched it by now. But like,
this Charity Sammy Adams, by the way, totally off fucking topic, but this is really fucking good.
It is pretty good.
It really is.
Yeah.
Both.
But dude, Okafor's arc was like one episode, but it was deep as fuck.
Yeah. No, and he was and Rick tried to attack him, and Rick's no
pushover.
Yeah, he's not a pushover. He's not like a
easy to fucking.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
What's the fucking word? You know, he's not a. Yeah, he's not that. He's not a bullshitter. You know what I mean? He's not like he's the real fucking deal. But like Okafor, man, he fucking combated Rick right away.
That's the thing, and most of Rick's attack on Okafor was because Okafor was letting him. He was just kind of like, hey, still trying to talk.
He instantly turned it around on him. And Rick was one of the people that did the best in the post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's an age thing or it's a whatever, but I'm kind of glad I've been seeing some of the stuff that's important, but I've been very hands off with going into this year's election and all that bullshit compared to like years past. You know what I mean? Like I've seen the important stuff that has come about and you know all that stuff, but I've been very, and I feel like a lot of people have. I don't feel like it's nearly as intense as it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Because here's the other thing.
Our generation, man. We're already old.
We were also dealing, but here's the thing:
world is.
we had a double whammy at that election. It was also dealing with COVID at the same time as it was dealing with the election. So like that was kind of like
that was a weird election.
Yeah, dude, no, fuck those mail-in ballots. Like, and guess what? Everybody realized how fucking dumb they sounded when you realize, oh look, hardly anybody. Like, I'm not saying it was never a real thing. But now everybody, you know, we know how to defend against it and everything else. And you're a fucking idiot. I'm not going to be that close to anybody. I can't go in and vote like that. Yeah, you can. You do it every day now. Now we're literally like, yeah, we're living in a post-world of that. But you're doing everything the same way you're pretty much used to.
It's like any other
You look
illness.
dumb as fuck.
If you're you have preconditions that are going to affect you further with illness anyways, like those people, yeah, they're going to be more at risk for things, especially things that we don't have vaccines or cures for. It's like, yeah, if you have former problems, you got COPD or something, it's going to be an issue for you, you know? Like, but for the average person out there just doing things, it's like,
we learned the masks were not as effective as they thought they were.
I'll say too, I've had COVID twice. Maybe I haven't had it as strong as some people have had it, you know? But like, I think the times that I've had the flu have been more miserable.
Dude, the time I've never had a confirmed case test-wise that I ever had it. But dude, like, both times I had food poisoning were some of the most painful times that I ever had, man. Like they were like they were rough.
Getting poisoned though.
Yeah. Well, no, and they were. Well, it still was painful.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like this is one of those things that like, it's rough because, you know, and not to like take shots or whatever else, but like, at the same time, you know, people that are like, oh no, you need to accept everybody and you need to blah blah blah, and like the scientifically uplifting left is like, oh no, you should accept, you know, everybody, but we're also the branch of science. Okay, well then you should fucking tell these people to be healthier, because it's their fucking fault. A lot of them, not the ones obviously.
That's the thing, though.
It's not the ones. It's not the ones
chooses
with
what they were gonna do, man.
It's not the ones with certain, you know, I realize there's sicknesses that you can't, you know, control, and that if you get diagnosed with certain things, there's things that are out of your reach or capability to fix on your own. I realize that. But at the same time, nothing is stopping you from eating better, from exercising, from taking vitamins, from doing basic fucking things to take care of your body and yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why is it that whenever it comes to your body and your health, oh, well, no, you know, we're not going to shame people for, I'm not saying shame anybody, but like, you're not going to hold people accountable for their own health and their own fucking needs.
What are you going to tell them? I'm not going to go up to somebody that's fat and be like, hey, you need to get healthy. What are you going to tell them?
No, but
people are going to live their lives.
But they act like everything was because people were breaking COVID protocols. It's like, believe me, honey, you were not fucking doing well before this shit happened. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And sir, or
people that
whoever
were
else.
pre-existing were, it's gonna be harsher on you if you get it.
You need to, like, at the same time, like, people, and these are the same people that preach accountability. Oh, they need to take accountability for their actions. You take accountability for yours. Be fucking healthier. Exercise. Work out. Take vitamins. Do your shit.
Sweat some, get some
fucking
physical
no, like
activity
it's I'm sick of this selective accountability that exists in today's society. It's fucking ridiculous. No, you are responsible for your shit. Nobody else.
That's how it goes. That's
everybody. It's not because somebody else did this and they prevented me from doing that.
Handed to it.
But it's,
for the most part, yeah, everybody's out here just trying to fucking do their own thing.
It's just frustrating because, and I mean, it's all people. This is not obviously subject to political party or anything like that either necessarily. It's just like, but if you're gonna preach accountability, then look yourself in the mirror and change something. You know?
Yeah.
It's what it is. No, honestly, that was pretty clean for us talking about some of the things we talked about. But you want to get started with the new segment?
Yep.
Hell yeah!
Who even went first last time?
Oh, it doesn't. I was gonna say I can throw you mine for. I think you went first last time, so I guess we can switch it up. We switched the bowl up this time too, so we can keep doing that if you want to.
We're doing Walking Dead characters.
Yeah, we drew for our new segment, which is basically we haven't even named the segment still, and this is the third edition. We named the Good, the Bad, and the Shits by the third edition, but we haven't named it. It's all right though, you know. But it's kind of like a gauntlet of sorts, but it's kind of like this versus that, or pick a winner type of deal. You know what I mean? Like which main thing is gonna suffer losses to your list, or is it going to overcome some of them?
Yeah.
And last week is way more lopsided, or not last week, but the last solo episode is way more lopsided than the comedy movies one that we did.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this one pans out.
We will preface this too by saying that we know each other's top Walking Dead characters, so more than likely they're left off the list because we know they're gonna beat most anybody else. So it was kind of tough to try to pick because we had to pick around some of your top favorites, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I guess we'll get started here. My main topic for you, Walking Dead character-wise, is King Ezekiel.
Ooh.
And I know you like him.
I do like him.
I don't know how heavily you're favorable to him.
I feel like I liked him more when he had the kingdom and he was actually
Yeah.
King Ezekiel.
Yeah, He was way more character driven at that time.
Yeah.
But we put him up against some, I don't want to say heavy hitters because those people would be bound to whoop his ass in this list. So, you know. But we put him up against some other people. But to be honest, this is one of those shows that has, if you've ever seen The Walking Dead, that has just a hefty amount of strong characters, you know.
Yeah.
Men, women, villains, heroes,
Yeah.
fucking
all sides.
a lot of shit. So, all right, well, let's start off. King Ezekiel versus Carl Grimes.
Man.
I know that's kind of a weird one, isn't it? That's kind of like a weird mashup.
Because there was points in the show where I hated Carl,
and
there was points in the show where I really liked him. You know?
Yeah.
So when early on, Carl was a little shit. If we're being honest. He was
the second
bastard.
season when he was just off in his mouth to everybody, it was ridiculous. It was just like, you fucking are the reason why several people got killed, man. And I realized he was only like 10 or 11, but it's like still.
Yeah, he was a problem, but he developed into a pretty damn good character.
Yeah, he did. He had more of a run in more depth, I would say, than Ezekiel. But I mean, Ezekiel had it's an interesting contrast because that's one that's hard to wrap your hands around. That versus.
Yeah,
you know?
I'd probably slightly lean Carl. I think.
Okay.
Because the last few seasons, with Carl, I was a big fan of him.
Yeah.
He wasn't enough necessarily ever to crack my top 10, but
even he
I
turned
did
over a
like
new
him.
leaf. You know,
Yeah.
even he was, because at first he was just like, no, these fuckers need to die, and then he was just kind of like, what the hell are we doing this for, kind of thing, and he changed his mind about a lot of stuff the way he thought. Okay, moving on. So you take Carl. King Ezekiel versus Jesus.
taking King Ezekiel from that one. Jesus he did have cool moments though, but he was a character that I always liked and cared about, but he was never one that I latched onto he was my favorite at any point in the series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will say too, this probably doesn't speak good for him necessarily as a character, but his death scene was pretty fucking dope and crazy. Because that was when the Whispers, they didn't know they were the Whispers.
Yeah.
Remember?
And he did that backflip.
They were the walkers, but they just walked up right on him and just started attacking him. Yeah, he fought hard as fuck before he got killed.
He did. He had a good a little over 3-season run.
Yeah.
I think.
He had some cool moments.
But he was really responsible for connecting Alexandria and Hilltop.
Yeah.
So that was a big, Hilltop was where they grew the food, but not so much everybody survived. Like a lot of the warriors were in Alexandria, so once they connected and it bridged the food source, they also had protection. So both sides helped one another.
Mm-hmm.
And in a post-apocalyptic world, that's hard to come by. So you take it where you can get it. Okay, how about King Ezekiel versus Alpha?
Alpha was dope as a villain, but I actually think I kind of like Beta a little more. I was a Beta fan. I thought he was cool, because he was the second man, but he had a pretty big arc in himself too. And again, his death scene was fucking insanely cool. And he stabbed his eyes and then just held his hands out, and the walkers just kind of surrounded him. That was pretty cool. But because he knew it was over pretty much. But I just thought the Whispers themselves were pretty neat. I thought Alpha, Beta, and Omega all kind of had cool characters. I'd probably have to say Ezekiel again though, King Ezekiel.
Okay. The next one might be a little tougher. King Ezekiel versus Herschel Green.
Well, yeah. Herschel is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So
He's
I would have to pick Herschel in this, but that's not taking anything away from Ezekiel. It's just Herschel was like, if you had to pick one singular character in The Walking Dead that was like the moral compass of the show,
the whole show,
it was Herschel.
Yeah.
You know, he was the character that a lot of the characters thought back to in moments where they needed that guidance. You know, like he showed back up for Rick.
A lot of people looked up to him. Even Rick, whenever he was running shit, was like still looking towards Herschel's direction and for his guidance.
He was a really, really good character, and he was just a good,
he was a
good guy.
He was Kyle's favorite character in the show.
Yeah.
He was Kyle was fucking heartbroken whenever he fucking got slaughtered.
That's pretty that's like a pretty acceptable answer too. Like, he wasn't in the show for the majority of the run, but if somebody says Herschel's their favorite, you're not going to question that because it's understandable, you know.
No, he was a strong character, and Scott Wilson was a hell of an actor.
That's the sad thing about Herschel though too, is you almost knew it's like this guy's going to die eventually. He's got one leg and he's old. Like, he's not going to survive in this apocalypse forever. No. You know.
He was around for a while though. He was in the show for 2.5 seasons, but like, I think for sure he left, he left a nice footprint on the show and the characters, that were involved. Okay, well, we're 2-2. King Ezekiel versus Simon, which was basically the right-hand man to Negan in the Saviors for a while.
Yeah, he was like the main man for the Saviors behind Negan, the whole Saviors War.
Yeah, he put Simon on every job that he didn't want to take, pretty much.
Until they had that fight to the death, pretty much. But honestly, just the Saviors War in general, that 7 and 8, season 7 and 8, I fucking loved those seasons. I think I'm gonna have to edge out with Simon here, man.
Really?
I think so.
Okay, you did like Simon. Okay.
Yeah, I just liked Simon and Negan a lot. Simon wasn't on the level of Negan for me, because Negan's one of my favorite characters. But
Negan
Simon
was way more fleshed out. Too.
Simon was like a good villain.
Yeah.
And he just had the look of a villain. Like,
he was like the difference. It was kind of like that classic. You knew Negan was like the main bad guy. But once they pitted Simon and Negan against each other, you realize that, it's kind of like Darth Vader and the Emperor. Like, even though the Negan role is kind of like more of the Emperor, you realize that Negan had a moral compass almost to him a little more. Like, he served morality a little more, kind of like Darth Vader, at least at a certain point. Whereas Simon was a little more straight up, just, no, fuck you. Like, I'm killing all of you.
Yeah.
And Negan had certain rules that he abided by, as harsh as he was.
Yeah.
When he was a bad guy.
Yeah, he still like had it was like a law system basically.
Yeah.
Like don't to
keep everybody in order.
Yeah. And Simon, he was a little just more unhinged. Like he was like, we want everything for us, Yeah. Fuck everybody.
Well, and the thing was, Negan was like, what the fuck are you doing this for? Because he knew that with Simon's way, they might kill whoever they were fighting against, but like he was gonna lose a fuckload of people in the process.
Yeah, Simon didn't care. He just wanted the resources.
Yeah. And he wanted the person dead. Like Negan knew that if he intimidated them and just kind of overpowered them with their numbers, he would be able to get them to do whatever they want up until Rick's group, obviously. Because they ain't gonna stand for no shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, King Ezekiel versus Gabriel Stokes. Father Gabe.
Gabriel was another one that I was like, you're a little fucking sack of shit at the beginning. And then I grew to be like, Gabriel, you're pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like, I've always liked Ezekiel more than Gabriel.
Yeah.
Like, Ezekiel's just always been more like, if you're gonna Gabriel did become kind of a badass too, but like if you're gonna ride into war, with somebody by your side, I would take Ezekiel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
because Ezekiel was by the people for the people,
and he was very honorable always.
Yeah.
Like, and not that Gabriel wasn't to a point, but
he was kind of more of a coward that would let people that were either, idly by him or just for him or supported him or friends of his. He would if it was to save his own ass, at least the beginning, he would kind of let them die in order to save his own ass. And Ezekiel never would have done something like that.
Yeah, Ezekiel, he was a leader,
Yeah.
He led his own group too.
Granted, Gabriel did grow and evolve, so I mean, he wasn't always like that.
Gabriel did have a lot of character development too, but
Ezekiel would have died.
I was more of an Ezekiel fan.
Ezekiel would have died for any of his own people,
Yeah. Oh yeah. The kingdom just in itself was cool. Like, honestly, when the kingdom was around and like Shiva was around, that's when it was the coolest with Ezekiel.
Which they had to relieve the day will come when you will be, or when you won't be fucking with the kingdom. The kingdom episode where they're just showing Morgan pushing Carol around, and it was just like, oh yeah, this is what we're up to now. Alrighty, so I think we're split 3-3 right now on King Ezekiel. So let's go with King Ezekiel versus Rosita Espinosa.
I did like Rosita too.
I did too.
She was cool.
She was a pretty hard ass.
She was a real.
As far as like all the women in the show, like she was a hard, and like obviously Michonne, because she was the hardest.
I mean, Michonne and Maggie and Carol.
It's not even like Michonne was just one of the hardest people in the show. Period. Like she was one of the most competent, kick your ass characters ever in the show. Period.
Oh yeah.
Not even just female, but it's just like other than like Rick and like maybe Daryl, she was
the most capable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, that's a tough one, actually. I think I'm gonna have to edge out with Ezekiel though. I didn't like Rosita.
I'm glad she lived till like pretty much the damn near end of the show.
The end. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. And she did have a lot of development too throughout her run. She had a kid and everything too. Like, just kind of wild. Yeah, I did like Rosita. She was, and I liked that group coming in, like Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita. I kind of liked like that era when they were like coming into the group, getting introduced to everybody. That was a fun time in the show. That was when a lot of people were around.
Yeah, it was like right after they had to leave, like when the governor attacked and everything, and they encountered him. Okay. I have got another one for you. So you're taking Zeke.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. King Ezekiel versus Tyrese Williams.
Tyrese was another like moral compass kind of character. Like he was always like
He
pretty
became
much
that for
on
sure.
the good side
After
of things.
Yeah, after he experienced his own loss, I think he kind of became that.
I mean, like he even through his loss, he was never like a bad guy though. Like,
No, he was just struggling.
Yeah, he just had to overcome the bodies being on fire. I mean,
Yeah. Hey, somebody took him out and dragged him out here and set him on fire.
Yeah,
They drag him out here and set him on fire.
It's like, we know, dude. Chill out. Shit.
We saw it and we heard you the first time you said it.
It's pretty obvious when you look at this burnt, crumpled pile of bodies what happened here.
Fuck.
I would have to pick Zeke though again. King Ezekiel
Okay.
over Tyrese, yeah.
Would you think of Tyrese's run pretty fucking do you think he was cut
There's
short,
some
or do you
notable
think
moments.
he lived about the length that his character had to give?
I mean, they definitely could have had more to do, like more for him if they wanted to, but you could say that for anyone.
Yeah.
The show just they killed off a lot of characters.
Beth got killed, and so if you really want to look back at it, in season 5, they got killed back-to-back episodes, but Beth got killed at the mid-season finale of the first half of season 5, and Tyrese got killed the opener of the second half of season 5.
Yeah.
So, but it's like those are two major deaths that had been in the show for multiple seasons when they came to pass. So, and I definitely think most people agree that Beth's time was cut short.
Oh yeah, it was. Tyrese, I think, could have went either way. Like if they had more for him. The main thing I always think about with Tyrese always is like keeping Judith safe. Like he was kind of a reason for her getting to become who she became, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it wasn't for Tyrese being in the story, like she might not have lived. He like was a big reason for taking her with him, you know.
And I know when we were watching it, like you were probably like waiting for the moment that it was revealed that Carol was the one that, you know, killed Karen and set him on fire and tried to stop the disease from being spread.
Mm.
And like Tyrese was sitting directly across the table from them after like the Grove episode where they had to kill the two little girls after Lizzie killed Mika. That was a fucking brutal episode. It was still one of the best reviewed episodes. Not like the most, but like it was still one of the like. It was a gut-wrenching episode for sure. It was like, god damn, like from beginning to end, like that was just that was a pretty brutal episode for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it served the show and it was kind of interesting in that second half of season 4 to see how a lot of the characters that remained and the new ones like Abraham, Rosita, Eugene ended up at Terminus, following the attack on the prison, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was fucking. It definitely led them. That's why I really love like the beginning of season 5 when that whole group, like minus a few of the characters that didn't make it there, after the prison, like we're all together because there was like 17 just hard fucking hitters like together, like Tyrese, Abraham, Daryl, Rick, fucking. It was like a Glenn, like they were Maggie, you know, they were a powerhouse group. It was like fucking.
Yeah.
It was over a dozen of them, and it was like, man, they can do fucking anything.
Oh yeah.
You know, that group, like that season 5 opener, still one of my favorite episodes of all time. No
The beginning
Sanctuary.
of season 5, there was just a fuckload of people.
That No Sanctuary, I'm pretty sure ended up.
That's a great episode.
It was either No Sanctuary or there was the opener of season 4 that was the all-time record viewing episode. And I want to say that 4 said it and then maybe 5 reset it, but I don't know that for sure. It's one of the others. But it's either the opener of 4 or the opener of 5 was the all-time. And then the third next episode to that was The Day Will Come When You Won't Be, was the most viewed ever, and then which was the season 7 opener. So the openers, I mean, fucking absolutely killed it, even more than the finales did.
Well, they got people to want to know what the fuck was going on.
And so on the off season, those 6 months every year, people were like, "Fuck, I gotta catch up, you know." So they did catch up.
Yeah.
And but those were the highest 3 viewed of all time. episodes, like, period. And so the openers always were strong. Greg Nicotero directed. I don't know about the day will come when you won't be, but the other two he directed both of them, which were the highest viewed two of all time. But he's a fucking master.
Oh yeah, he's done a lot of shit in horror too, just in general.
Moving on, King Ezekiel. So I think we're 8 out of 10 right now through, and I think you've picked Zeke in
5 times, I think. 4 or 5.
Yeah, or no, yeah. You picked Carl over him, Herschel, Simon, and I think that's it. So 5 out of 8 so far. Not to tell you the numbers to affect it, but I don't know if it will or not. So let's say King Ezekiel versus Andrea.
Andrea was kind of opposite, where I feel like I kind of started to like her less as it went. You know, like some of the characters I liked more as they kind of progressed. Andrea was kind of like the more that she kind of stuck around and you saw of who she was, you kind of were just like, I don't know about her, man.
She was banging the governor, man.
Yeah, well, you know, that could have been for the betterment of the group, potentially, but...
Well, she tried to go back to the prison, and then he, like, caught her right before she, like, she was in, you know, a few hundred feet of the prison, and she was getting ready to go there. The governor fucking grabbed her and then locked her up in the, you know, his little prison that he had back at the Woodbury.
Yeah.
They're bloodthirsty.
I'd have to go with King Ezekiel again, I think.
Okay.
I don't necessarily dislike Andrea, but she was never one of my favorites either, you know?
Yeah.
She was just kind of like, she was there, she was a character, you know? She did have some intriguing storylines at times, but she also pissed me off a lot, so.
Would you take Rosita over Andrea?
Oh, yeah.
Would you take Lori over Andrea?
No.
Okay, well, that's where it is. That's where the line is. Oh, man. Well, we got one more for you. You taking 3, so it's a decent split. It's an interesting split so far. The next one is up for debate. I don't know what... Honestly, I don't know what you'd say for this one. It's always interesting to pick some interesting ones first and last, you know?
Yeah.
And Carl, I had no idea. I was just like, I'll just put Carl first because that seems like a random one to list first. Okay. For the last one on the marquee matchup tonight, King Ezekiel versus Morgan Jones.
Damn.
Maybe tougher than Carl versus Zeke, huh?
I mean, that is a tough one.
Because Morgan wasn't around as consistently, but his vital role was almost as important as pretty much as important as almost anybody.
Oh yeah. In the long game of the series, Morgan was one of the most important characters, really.
Yeah, he was.
So it's kind of, that's tough to say. Like, Morgan also had moments, though, where I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, multiple times in the show where I'm like, why do you gotta be such a complicated fucking prick? Just do, like, why do you, I have to. Why? Just fucking stay here.
I have to, man. But he was driven crazy, man. He lost his wife. He lost his son.
That was fucking years ago. Rick did too.
Well, that's true.
It's like
that's true. They both did lose their wives and sons.
It was just absurd to a point where it was just kind of like, why do you gotta keep being so goddamn hard-headed about everything, dude? He was super.
Dude, Morgan was like competent as fuck though. Like, the thing is, he even noted that is like sort of a curse because he's like, I'm way too like competent and just good in this afterworld like era to where like he's not gonna let anybody kill him because he's too good. He knows martial arts and shit like that too much. He's too competent and too fucking like quick-witted, quick moves. Like but it's like he had a struggle with his own sanity for. I mean, a lot of people in this world did, but more than a lot of the characters. You know what I mean? He had a real. But I always just wanted to see him and Rick back in the same place. You know what I mean? I always wanted to see like them come back together.
Yeah.
And so whenever he left, I was like, what the fuck? Like, why not any of these other characters? And like the end of season 8, and that's when he crossed over to Fear the Walking Dead.
That was dumb as fuck, I'll be honest.
Didn't I show you that episode when he
Yeah.
like went over? Yeah. Because they debuted back to
Dwight
back.
went over there too.
I was in California, and the season 8 finale played the same like night as the season 3 or 4 opener of Fear the Walking Dead played. And so I watched it just because I knew Morgan was crossing over, but at the same time I was like, this is fucking dumb, dude. He's been back for a few seasons, but we've hardly even seen him with some of the characters you wanted to see him with, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was.
But-
it was kind of a bummer that they I'm not gonna say they wasted it, because they did want to have some bigger
Yeah.
main characters
Yeah.
on Fear the Walking Dead to get people's eyes on that one too. but
It,
it's
I mean,
kinda like,
they did have a big episode with him and Rick together teaming up towards the end of 8 to like kind of like make
Yeah.
that you know. But I always craved. I think that's the other reason though too, is they wanted you to like, they wanted that to be special, so they didn't want to like overcompensate having those two characters together. You know, Morgan obviously saved Rick's life, and Rick saved a ton of other people's lives following it. You know, probably was also responsible for getting a lot of people killed. But you know, in this post-apocalyptic world, a lot of the characters would be.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I don't know. I always really liked Morgan. I always really
I liked
appreciated
him a lot, too.
his part in the show.
That's the thing. I like both of them a lot, and now, kind of discussing them, thinking about it over, Morgan might slightly edge out Ezekiel.
The Zeke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ezekiel had a strong showing. I picked him still a majority of the time.
6 out of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still a majority. Yeah.
I do really like Zeke though.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a majority, so I mean that's not anything to be. And I tried to pick like, obviously this list went away from some of the main dire characters that we see, and I didn't even list some of the people that I was thinking about like saying. I was like, there's other people like shorter runs or whatever, but I also picked some people that I'm like, okay, that's because I knew you like Simon. We all love Herschel. Like I don't know anybody that fucking had anything bad to say about the Herschel character. Like if you do, fuck you, man. Herschel is a great character. I mean, Herschel is still on my top 10 Walking Dead characters easily, and he's probably in the top 7 or 8, or at least maybe even 6. I don't know. He's up there. I don't know if he'd be top 5.
I definitely put him in the top 8.
But he's like
he's certainly in the top 10.
He would edge out from 6 to 8 for me.
All right. Do we want to do mine now?
Mhm.
Walking Dead characters. The main character you're going to be choosing against is going to be Carol.
Okay.
One of the leads. Everybody knows Carol.
One of the longest runs in the history of the show.
Oh yeah. Dude, Carol to me, I don't know, that I feel like she was an interesting character to put, because I know she's not one of your like top 5 necessarily, but she's a long-running character, and for me, she's had a lot of moments where I've really like been into Carol, and other moments where I've really just been like, what the fuck are you doing?
She had a lot more growth than almost anybody in the show, though.
She did.
And like here's the thing: here's the thing is what I will say is badass as Rick, Michonne, and Daryl are. None of those 3 changed as much as Carol did.
No. Yeah. Well, but this is all coming down to personal preferences.
Oh yeah.
So
This is what's beauty of this segment is it's very subjective, but it's one or the other. There's no in between. There's no fair. There's no nothing.
it's
So the
just
good, the bad,
who
the
you're
shits
gonna
is
pick.
for. Yeah. Or
All
what?
right. So first choice here, Carol or Rosita. So I know you liked Rosita too.
Yeah, I did. No, I liked Rosita a lot, and that's the problem with this is like it shows sort of a disservice to the one that gets edged out or whatever, because you're like, damn, you're like, that's rough. I think Carol had more development, but I did like a lot of Rosita's run pretty consistently, but I'd probably have to say, as far as the character, I mean, I don't know. I'd probably have to say Carol.
All right.
And I really like Rosita too, you know.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well,
it'd be curious to see how many we have similar on our list.
It's kind of where we're standing now. That was sort of the basis point, you know. See if you're gonna pick Rosita or Carol here. So we'll see how the rest of this goes. Carol or the Governor?
The Governor, man, he was a motherfucker.
He was a great villain, though.
But he was. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, honestly, I don't really think The Walking Dead had any bad villains.
No.
All the, like, major, like, seasons-long villains were, like, fucking pretty strong. And even some of the halves, like we were saying, like, Pope and, what was Garrett, like, they were both pretty damn good. Like, I really enjoyed Pope. And he was late in the show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of tough. I picked a villain, I guess, in mine.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is Carol and Ezekiel, they had a relationship in the show eventually, you know?
Yeah, it's
for
kind
a
of
little
funny.
while. So that's why I was like, once you said yours, I was like, I'm going to keep mine then. Because Zeke was like the first one that came to mind because I knew you liked him, but I also was like, well, there's definitely people that I think would edge out the list that you might pick over him.
Yeah.
You know, besides even the ones that are frankly like, of course, you know, you take over them. But I'd probably have to go with Carol over the Governor.
All right. Yeah, I didn't know like where the Governor necessarily stood.
I like the Governor a lot, though. You know, it's tough. It's tough. He's a strong character too. Honestly, like him and Rosita, both strong characters.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's, you know.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, but I think it's, as far as the development, like there are a few people in the show that ever had as much change and whether it made sense at times or not. Like even that season 9 Carol or 10, I guess it was, whenever she had like that pill addiction problem and shit. It's like that was like a random thing for her to have like late in the show.
It's like, how in the fuck did you get your hands on this many pills?
Yeah.
This late in the apocalypse.
And she just like kept taking. Daryl's like, what the fuck is this lady doing?
Yeah, he's like,
and like they had
what
been,
is wrong with
they
you?
had been close for like more than a decade at that point. It's like, what the fuck? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, she had a lot of development for sure. I mean, she's nothing like the way she started in the show, you know.
Yeah.
Eventually, and then she went through like sort of a heartless era, and then kind of came back into like welcoming people into her life, and then you know, she went through a lot of transitions.
She really turned cold for a little bit.
She probably went through more transitions than almost anybody besides Negan.
I feel like she was never even cold though. That's the thing. Like, she just tried to put that shield up. Like, no, nobody get close to me. But she was still she had like a loving soul. So it was always it was hard for her to deny people. You know.
I feel like as far as just range and like where they went to like just their different eras and in evolutions, like her and Negan had some of the most interesting arcs of anybody.
Yeah.
You know, like just their, you know, point A to B. It was like, man. Mm-hmm. Even some of the characters that we were talking about that are like some of the strongest of the show, Rick, Daryl, and Michonne, stayed more consistent level than those two did. You know what I mean? They changed a lot throughout the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
So.
All right. So Carol is 2-0 right now. Will she stay? Bringing him back from last week. Carol or Glenn Reed?
Oh man, yeah, that's probably the toughest one so far. Man. That's close.
That's
see,
a tough one.
Whenever we ranked our Walking Dead characters either a year or two ago, maybe, it might have even been The Apartment. It might have been that long ago. I don't know exactly, but we we like tried to organize it, but I don't know that my list is the same as it was even then. You know what I mean? Because if that was 1 to 2 years ago or so, then I don't. It's probably comparable, but it's not maybe exactly the same.
Yeah.
Probably similar to what yours would be.
It'd be probably mainly all the same people in there, but there might be like one difference.
Some switches and spots. If I could remember, I almost think that I had Carol like at least 1 or maybe 2 spots above Glenn at the time. But
yeah, I always liked Glenn a lot.
I did too. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
I have some hot takes too, because there is a number of characters I'd put above Carol too. You know, and that I'm sure a lot of people would not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like. It's just kind of where you. That's the fun thing about fandom. It's just where you stand on shit. You know?
I know, and like that's the thing is like where do I stand now? You know, because there's certain characters that I liked a lot for their stint, but maybe they didn't have the longevity that Carol had. You know what I mean? So then how do you?
Did you like them enough in their stint to be more than Carol?
That's what I mean.
Because just because she's a long-standing character, or a longer-standing character, doesn't necessarily mean that you were as much of a fan. She could be in the show 9 seasons, and you might be a fan of somebody that was in the show for 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You know?
It could have been when they were there, it was more exciting than the longevity. Longevity doesn't always mean, this is the best.
It's just if you were into the character while they were there. That's really what it boils down to,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
So, it's just kind of like, it's that thing. And to be honest, Glenn, even though Glenn wasn't in it for the duration that Carol, Michonne, Rick, Daryl were in it for, Glenn still had one of the great long runs of the whole entire show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he was in it till season 7, the first episode. So like that's over half the show. You know, that's tough, man. That's a tough one. That's definitely the toughest one so far, I think.
Yeah, it is a tough one.
But Glenn,
Two
even
major
being where Glenn was, he had a lot of development as well. You know what I mean? Like from how he
was
started
kind of
to
like
how he
a
ended up.
goofy kid.
He was, yeah. And yeah, whenever he destroyed that walker with no weapons, no nothing in season 3, with being strapped to a chair, whenever Merle like let him just off, just just go for him. Like he probably fully expected Glenn to die. And Glenn fucking used the chair and got up and, attacked the walker and killed it and shit. It was like, holy shit. Like, Glenn showed his ass, Man, that is tough.
It's presented with some hard choices on this segment. It's the point of the segment. Make you think, make you pick.
It is, yeah. I might actually give the edge to Carol a little bit.
All right. Carol, man, she could make a clean sweep up in here now. We'll see.
We'll see, we'll see. Well, what do you got? You got anything good?
All right,
Not
Carol,
good. Those have been some good options so far.
Or Beth Green.
Oh.
I was a big fan of Beth too. Like I feel like
I was too.
Like we were talking about even during my segment though, I feel like I was most of a fan of Beth in her last number of episodes,
And then it just was stripped from you.
Yeah. So you never really got to like sit with her too long to really like soak in how cool she actually could have been, you know?
Yeah. She was definitely killed at her most interesting,
Yeah.
And I think Merle, not that they were at all comparable in that way, but I mean, in a way they were, but not that their characters were. But as far as being killed when they were at their most interesting, Merle was the same way, and arguably Shane was the same way too. He was like at the tip top of his like, oh my god, like what, like at their most interesting. I'm not saying I'm not saying that Shane didn't need to go when he did go, because regardless, even being killed near the very end of season 2, he still left a hell of an imprint on the entire show and on Rick for seasons upon seasons after that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, even if his run was like shorter, which it was in the comics too, so it wasn't like it was inaccurate. I mean, he changed everything for Rick because of what Rick had to do to him to get rid of him and to move forward with his life in this post-apocalyptic world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So those are two comparable runs to, you know, to the one that like Beth had in ways. I mean, and Beth really had more time, but I feel like we really spent more quality time with her as the show went on. You know what I mean? It wasn't.
Yeah,
she was
kind of a background
Yeah.
character the first
even
season
even
she was
in
around.
season 3, she got a little more time, but she was
Yeah.
still like, you know, Carol, Maggie, Glenn, Rick, like they were all short, like showing way more than she was still. Even
Yeah.
you know, in the farm
She
season,
was like kind of like watching the kids in the prison. a lot
other
of
than
season 3.
other than her like suicide attempt in like that aspect of the season 2, she was pushed to the background of season 2 even.
Yeah.
You know, in season 3, and then you know, and then whenever she was like, the governor invaded the prison, and she went off with Daryl, is like whenever she started to become.
That was like a really cool little run with them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was some
And
of her best stuff.
some people didn't find that episode interesting, but that episode still, where it's just them two the whole time, I fucking love that episode.
That's a good one.
That's one of my favorite episodes for sure of like the back half of season 4. Maybe my favorite, maybe top 2 of the second half of that season. And season 4 was tremendous in a lot of ways. But I know the back half of the season focused on only certain characters' journeys on the
They're
way.
all split apart.
Yeah, on the way to Terminus.
Yeah.
So, but some people were like, "Oh, that still was, you know, was a boring." I was like, I love that episode. I thought it was tremendous. I thought it was one of the best
That's
ones.
what brought the Grove. Was the
I thought it
back
was-
half of season 4 too, and a lot of people said that was one of the best of all time.
I thought it was far more interesting than the Maggie Sasha, you know, fucking was it Bob episode or Maggie? But yeah, it was like I thought it was like for sure more interesting than some of the other ones, and because like that exchange when they had Daryl and Beth had, where he's just like, the governor rolled right up to our gates, and like they just had that screaming match against each other, and like Daryl just broke down and Beth broke down, and it was just like, it was so incredibly emotional, and like it just pulled everything that happened prior to the show to like the forefront of like that exchange that they had. It was like, I love that whole scene. Like they both did a hell of a job in that.
Yeah.
You know, Norman Reedus and I forget her name that plays Beth.
Yeah.
But you know, they did a fantastic job and stuff, and like reflecting on the past and like what happened, and she's like, and you know, Daryl's like, and your dad, he's like, maybe if I hadn't stopped looking, you know, maybe if I hadn't given up, that was on me, you know, and like he felt responsible, like if he hadn't given up looking for, because him and Michonne, for all those months of the governor, for at least 6, 7, 8 months, whatever, however long the governor was gone, him and Michonne went out all the time to look for him.
Yeah.
And neither one of them could find him because they both wanted to kill him, and neither one of them could find him anywhere. And you know,
Yeah, that back half of season 4, after all that fallout of everything and Herschel dying and stuff, did bring upon some pretty big, like Carol being the main topic. Like a lot of people said that was her best episode, was The Grove with Tyrese and the girls.
oh yeah, it was
Like,
Melissa McBride's acting was fucking phenomenal in that episode.
yeah, that was a great episode. That was kind of like a horror, like sort of like a drama horror kind of episode.
Mhm. It was for sure. So who was that initial one against Beth?
Yeah,
I'd probably say Carol.
yeah. I kind of figured you would.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I almost took Glenn over her, and it's almost still up for debate in ways. It depends on who you got the rest of this list here.
I figure you'll probably take Carol here, but I like him. I kind of brought that up in my list too, so I figured I'd have a moment to bring him up here. Carol or Beta? He was another kind of neat villain that was in the later seasons.
And I'm a big Ryan Hurst fan, honestly. Like,
yeah.
You know, whenever he played fucking in Sons of Anarchy, whenever he was fucking Jax's, like, you know, why the fuck can't I think of his goddamn name?
I don't know. We can look it up.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can look it up if you want to real quick. I can't even forgive myself for like falling short on this on live air here.
He's like, oh yeah, you're a real big fan of me, huh?
Opie.
There you go. Yeah.
But he was a fantastic character in that, and like honestly, being in The Walking Dead and Sons of Anarchy with a little bit of overlap there for a few years, whenever their shows runs were going on. I was a big fan of Ryan Hurst altogether, and like he was in like Remember the Titans, and he was in he was the guy that got hurt, and had to watch from the sidelines like near their last game and like the whole like the ending and everything.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic, and
yeah, that was a pretty good role for him.
Yeah, that in his death in Sons of Anarchy was the one that hit everybody in that, because I know you haven't really watched much of that show or anything, but that was the death that probably hit everybody the hardest in the entire show of Sons of Anarchy. Whenever he fucking he got like him, Jax, Tig, who was he was in like several things you've seen. He was in Entourage also. He was that guy that like gave Vince that script that like fucked him over that was actually not supposed to be for him. And he's like, I gotta hate. That was Tig. Yeah. And Tig was a motherfucker sometimes in Sons of Anarchy. He was part of the club, but he would just pull bullshit and like dick around.
Guys.
Yeah. And he was like likable sometimes.
Those guys.
He was likable sometimes, but he was also like, Tig, what the fuck, man? And Pope, there was a Pope in Sons of Anarchy, like that was his name, and he like burned one of Tig's like daughters alive in like season 5. It was fucked.
Popes, man, the popes in these shows they're ruthless sons of bitches.
Oh yeah. He's just like, oh, I'm gonna do this to you, and he's like, no, and it was Jax, Opie, Chibs, and Tig who were in prison, and they're like, well, one of the sons, and I know obviously you're out of the loop on the show and everything. It's been a long time since I even watched it, so I might even be getting some of my facts wrong. I mean, on this I pretty much remember it though. But they were all in prison, and Pope's like, he even told Jax, he's like, well, one of the sons, like counting like one of you guys that ends up in prison because they had pulled some shit and they all 4 ended up in prison. He's like, I'm gonna need a death from the sons. Like, I'm gonna need a death from one of you.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's gonna have to go. And I was like, fuck, because at that point I was just catching up on the show and I had no idea. I was like, motherfucker. I was like, it better not be Opie, And they put like multiple guys in on him, and he like fought these motherfuckers off in prison. It was like 3 or 4 on 1. He fought like several of them off at once, but one of them had like a lead pipe, caught him right in the back of the fucking head, just, and he's like, oh, game over, man. It was like he took a hard hit, and then I think they smacked him again. It was brutal. It was fucking brutal.
Rip your heart out.
Yeah, and it was one of the most...
He had some dramatic death scenes in both shows.
It was one of the most brutal fucking deaths in the show, and like most people cite it as for sure the saddest death of Sons of Anarchy, including like the ending and everything. And and obviously he was the villain but he was a beloved character in Sons, but he was like really... He was really good as Beta also. Obviously, he was, in a lot of ways just... So you said you even preferred Beta to Alpha, huh?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he was cool. I liked him. Yeah, I'd probably still say Carol.
All right, Carol's up 5-0.
Damn.
These final 5 stand a chance here.
Okay, well, you can reframe your list if you need to.
Carol or Merle Dixon?
Damn! Damn.
This will be the have to explain yourself one here.
We'll talk about a lose-lose. No, honestly, like, for the run that Merle had, like, I thought he was ultimately interesting towards the end of his run because, I mean, he gave himself his life, you know, for his brother. He freed Michonne. He took out as many of the governor's guys as he possibly could. But he knew that if he came back and, like, just took Michonne back and didn't, because after he told Rick that he would have to, that he's like, oh, he doesn't have the gall to do it. Like, he was right. Rick, like, right before Rick was going to do it, because Rick was going to do it. But at that point in his life, in the end of season 3, or damn near the end of season 3, he was acting like, and he'd already done some dastardly things, but he wasn't over the edge yet.
Yeah.
He had killed a few people, but it was mainly in self-defense, all of them, you know, were. Shane, those two guys at the bar were purely in self-defense.
Yeah.
The only other exception was that guy that was in the wife beater that was a prisoner before they went in there. But he had, like, taken a stab, like, near Rick, and Rick knew that he kind of, like, was unpredictable. So that was, like, the first guy that Rick, quote-unquote, murdered in the post-apocalyptic world, like, outside of Shane and, like, those two guys at the bar, which were more in self-defense, at least those three. But that guy even, he had shown signs to Rick and, like, Daryl and multiple of them that he was unpredictable and he might kill one of them. So whenever Rick felt that, he's just like, fuck it. I'm throwing a machete right in this guy's fucking head.
Yeah.
And so it's like, honestly, I don't even blame him for that because that guy would have tried to pull some shit for sure.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't like Otis, not Otis, but he wasn't like Axel or fucking... the other guy's name, the black guy, I can't remember. He, like, went to Woodbury with them to, like, help him out and shit.
Yeah.
But those guys were actually pretty cool, and, like, they were trying to...
They were at least agreeable. You could live in a space with them.
Yeah, and these were good, man.
Yeah.
But...
It's like, we met one of them. We had to machete him.
Yeah.
I don't think they were great.
But, yeah, you know, I just... You know, I think that for his run, like, Merle, like I said, he was at his most interesting towards the end, and the other subjective factor to this is the fact that I am a big, like, Michael Rooker fan. Like, I think he's been fucking fantastic.
He's a good actor.
In everything I've ever seen him in.
He always plays kind of like an off-putting son of a bitch, too.
Dude, he's so good, though. He's really
good.
He's never not been good at anything I've seen him in. He was in Mallrats, and he was the villain in.
Just kind of like the way his mouth and his jaw sits. He just has like the face of a villain, you know.
Yeah. He does. Yeah. You know, he was. I really didn't want it to be over whenever he fucking died. You know what I mean? I was like, but I knew. That I was like, there's this, I can see this being the end of the road for him, you know, and obviously Daryl had a much longer
runway. You went out like with probably the best thing, you know, he ever did.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't keep him around then as a good guy because he'd still just be Merle. He'd still be off-putting and hard to be around, but that was probably there was no better climax for his character probably at the end of the day than what he did in his final moments.
So, I know it. I was a big fan, and I'm like I said, like I'm a big fan of Michael Rooker, but I'm gonna have to go with the Michael Jordan on this one. You know, man, I think I'm gonna have to say that like he might not have been there for the longevity, but he was there for the impact. I'm gonna say Merle Dixon over Carol.
All right. So it's 5-1. And ironically, Carol goes up against King Ezekiel.
Oh, look at that. How about it? Damn. I'm going to have to go with Carol on that one.
Yeah, I figured you probably... I mean, we talked a lot about Ezekiel, you know. I was a big fan, but...
And I think whenever I ranked my list...
At the end of the day.
I think whenever I ranked my list, I actually ranked Carol above Merle. Because of Merle's like longevity, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I like
who you like.
I loved like his arc for the short stint he was there and his development and his interest and like, you know, if you look at like fan ratings and people, a lot of people a lot of people came around to like as Merle evolved to like starting to like Merle. It's kind of wild, like the change in.
He was a good
dynamic
character
for him.
because he was like unlikable in the aspect of like he kind of had villain characteristics, but he sort of like was playing on the good side too. You know what I mean? So it was like
He changed too, and like it was weird because he was also one of those characters that was so entertaining that like he kind of won you over eventually, even if you weren't a big fan of him by any means to begin with. And like they give you a lot of reasons not to be a fan of him.
You weren't gonna be in the first appearance you saw. He was just like this racist prick. You know, that's all you really got from him in the first experience with him. And then you just like more times you saw him, you're like, this guy's humorous. He's like a humorous asshole, and then he kind of like turned a leaf there at the end.
Yeah.
All right, so Carol or Aaron? Figure we bring him up. Dude, Aaron, honestly, once he lost the hand, he almost became cooler because he had that like the mace, the just like spike ball for a hand. I think I know where that one's gonna go, but I figured Aaron was worth throwing in.
Yeah, I thought about adding Aaron onto mine. I wasn't sure, but I was like, you definitely could pick Ezekiel over him.
Yeah, I probably would.
I mean, there's some people I would take Aaron over for sure.
Yeah, a handful. I mean, he's never near the top for me.
Yeah,
but like I had no reason ever in the series to dislike Aaron either.
No.
That was the thing.
So I'd probably say Carol over Aaron too.
Yeah.
Aaron, we actually saw him at Comic-Con. He was there. Dude, he was one of the greatest impressionistic people of all time. Like, he was going to do an impression of anybody.
He did a Trump impression on the mic.
He did good at it, too.
It was a good one, yeah. All right, Carol or Abraham Ford. Dude, that's probably one of my hot takes. I'd put Abraham's in my top 10, for sure.
Is he?
Yeah.
How high, you think?
I don't know.
He's not in the top 5.
He's in the top 10 though.
Yeah.
I would probably say
8, 9, or 10.
Yeah, probably somewhere with him there.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed him though. Like
no, he was
his
funny.
run, he was great. He was
macho.
He was very humorous. Yeah, he had that like machismo to him, but he was also just like a hard son of a bitch.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he had the military background. Like he was just a cool character. He was like the G.I. Joe in the apocalypse. Basically.
Dude, and honestly, like he was one of the characters that were probably closest to his comic version of himself.
Yeah.
Like too over almost anybody.
Yeah, he had the one-liners and shit.
Yeah, he was great. He was great for his run. It's kind of wild that he only was there for half of season 4 through the very beginning of season 7. Because it felt like his life was longer than that, you know?
Yeah, he wasn't around super long, but yeah, I was a huge fan of him when he was there.
Damn. I'd probably take Carol over him.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I do like Abraham a lot too. I don't know where Abraham would rank on my all-time. I don't know if he would make top 10 because there's a few other people. Like it starts to get filled up because I do know my top 10 would be, you know, not in any specific order, but I do know it would be Rick, Michonne, Daryl, Carol, Herschel, Negan, Merle for sure, and you know, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting combination of people. Morgan, honestly, on my top 10 for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to try to list it out. But
I take a lot into account.
I think a couple villains might be in there. A couple not as long-lasting characters might be in there.
Oh yeah,
like people that like
Herschel.
It would definitely
Merle.
be a little more like people might look at it and be like, oh, like it might raise some eyebrows because it wouldn't be. But that's like we said, you know, it's a fandom thing. Like if you're really into something, you should have a different list of favorite characters than anybody else. Like.
Oh yeah.
And last but certainly not least.
We're already on the last one?
Yep, on the 10th one here.
Oh shit.
Carol or Maggie Green.
Ooh.
Or Maggie Reed, whatever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
They were
Carol.
they were both strong women
They were.
in the show,
They
too.
were.
Like,
They were.
strong, long-lasting female characters.
And they didn't always agree with each other by any means either.
No.
I would
was
probably
always a Maggie fan.
I would
too.
probably take Carol over Maggie.
Yeah. I think Maggie might have been my second favorite woman after Michonne. Maybe.
Yeah. Carol might be mine. I think her longevity, but also her character like development changed a lot of that too. There was points where, because I agree with you, there was points where I wasn't so favorable to Carol for sure, but I think she had such a range of like where she started from to where she ended up that I'm like, man, she like changed so much as a character, more than almost anybody, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe more than anybody. And that did win me over in a lot of ways too, because I'm like, I didn't see the same thing for, not that I was like, oh man, this puts her above whatever, because there are characters just that naturally I was like more drawn to than her character. But in terms of her, like her development, her evolution, her changing and everything, I mean, she started with fucking, you know, a husband abuser and like Ed, and then fucking her daughter Sophia, and like, man, both of them were out of the show by a few episodes into season 2.
Yeah.
So it's like
She like just became her own person, became like a hard ass after this life she'd already lived.
And she basically
in
had
the
this
apocalypse.
She basically had this like adopted son in a way, into like season 9 until she saw everybody's heads on those pikes and everything. Dude, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was another like really good episode. That was one of the top like Whisper War episodes.
I really want to restart Walking Dead from episode 1 again.
I'm like rewatching the X-Files now, but I'm like, and I'm watching this new show Hell on Wheels, but I'm like, once I finish one of the two of these, because there's a couple series I want to get to, but I'm like, the X-Files and the Walking Dead are like just like my top two. I'm like, I'm probably gonna rewatch the Walking Dead again here.
Yeah, it sounds
couple years.
So fucking dope.
Probably soon. Like once I finish one of these shows.
Have you still never finished X-Files?
No, I did. I'm like rewatching some of it.
Oh man, yeah, you gotta fucking rewatch Walking Dead. I would definitely be down to watch a fucking majority of that again, like anytime soon. I'm like, it's like it's been a while now too, because there was a time when I'd at least, you know, whenever they were only 6 or 7 seasons through, whenever I would rewatch and stuff. But then there became so many episodes that I've never, since me and you watched it over, I've never really rewatched the whole thing. There's certain characters that if you had thrown them in there again, like if you had thrown Morgan against them, or like on a given night, you know, Morgan, or like even Shane for his like short stint that he was there, or like whatever, I'm like, man, like they were super fucking interesting and super cool. That I may have taken over Carol, because it's not like by any means she's like my favorite character. Not that, because I do like her a lot though, but it is surprising that it's like a 9-1 on that, you know, aspect. But Merle, man, he just stuck with me because he had such a, very few characters can have that kind of impact with such a short development, and some of the only other ones that I can think of are Herschel, Shane, like Morgan. I mean, I guess Morgan's was spread out over the course of time, but they all had relatively short runs, you know.
Yeah, that was the thing that I really liked about The Walking Dead too, is like, there could be a character that didn't have near the longevity of other characters in that show, but still had an impact on you to the point where they could be one of your favorite characters.
Oh yeah.
It's an 11-season show, and there could be a character that was around for 3 seasons that could be one of your favorites, you know?
Damn.
And there's not a lot of shows that do that, at least to perfection, like that. Like, even the X-Files had, like, Mulder left at some point for a few seasons, and then came back, and they, like, put in new agents in the show, and, like, it was kind of weird, but, like, that was a little different, because everybody was just, like, so used to Mulder and Scully that, like, once they brought in Doggett and Reyes, everybody just rejected them at the time. Like, I feel like people are a lot more favorable to those episodes now, but...
Did Vince Gilligan, like, write all of that?
No. He was the writer and director. It was Chris Carter's project. It was his, like, creation. But there was a bunch, like Kim Manners, Glenn Morgan, Darren Morgan, Vince Gilligan. Like, there's just a handful of people that switched off kind of writing and directing certain episodes on the show.
Okay.
David Nutter was another one. Yeah, James Wong. Yeah, there was a bunch of... But yeah, he definitely had, like, a number of episodes, and it's... Looking back on it now, like, there's a season 6 episode of The X-Files that's, like, the main guy of the week. That, like, episode was Bryan Cranston, called Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, that was a Vince Gilligan episode. And then there was an episode in season 9 called The Lord of the Flies, and the bully in that episode was Aaron Paul, and that was a Vince Gilligan episode.
That's funny.
So I'm like, that might have been really where you, like, kind of came into contact with those guys. All right, so 9-1 Carroll, 6-4 Zeke.
Damn. You gonna take a break?
Yeah, I'm down.
Oh wow. Yeah, we said that wasn't gonna.
I figured it.
Well, but we also talked for at least 20 minutes or so before that happened.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. We are back from our break, and we have another edition of the good, the bad, and the shits ready for you tonight.
Yeah.
So we're ready. You guys are ready for it. So, who wants to start off? You want me to start off here?
Yeah, go for it.
Alrighty. Well, I will smack you upside the head with this. What do you think of the NFL potentially going to an 18-game season?
I don't know.
I mean, the thing is like, it's already 17, so, like, does it make that much of a difference that it's 18?
Just 17 recently.
Yeah,
though.
it hasn't been that long. It's only been like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like you need to push it too much. Like,
I don't think
what's 1 week gonna add that
I don't.
much?
I don't think it'll business. I don't think it'll add. I don't think they'll add much. I don't think they'll try to add anything else. If they get the 18, I don't think they'll try to add anything after that. But it'll just kind of even things out. The other thing that I wanted to know was, like, how do they decide if it's 17? Then that makes your team's games uneven. Like, how do they decide who gets more home games than away, or who? You know what I mean?
It was 16 forever. Team finished 8-8 all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they made it work.
Now you can if it's a tie. No, I don't think that's why. I think they just added one to the business. But, like, the stars don't play during the preseason anyway.
No.
So especially the older stars.
That's 2 more weeks you're adding compared to just a few years ago. Like, that's 2 more weeks of potential injury.
It's business though. That's why they're pushing it. But it's more eyes. But it could be. And the argument is, I'm not saying it's, because I get that there's other things about it too, but that's their reasoning for it, is to push more business, draw more money. Because nobody really cares about the preseason, especially if none of the stars are playing, you know? Especially the older stars are not going to play,
No.
But the other disgruntling thing to people is, like, well, if you're going to add an 18th game, are you going to add another bye week, to kind of break up some of the potential injury and, just to kind of rest them up and whatnot? Like, what do you think? I don't know.
I don't know. And that's another... I don't know how you do that. It'd technically be 19 weeks.
Either you start a little earlier or the Super Bowl gets... honestly, if the Super Bowl got pushed, like, what would that affect? It's already February, nothing's going on. Like, who would really be bothered by that?
Yeah.
There really isn't. There's really not anything of major importance going on. The NBA season, the NHL season might be going on, but, like, in terms of the NFL, it's shrunken. Like, it's not, the attention's not nearly on that as it is for the NFL and stuff. And besides that fact, it's not even NHL or NBA postseason. It's not playoffs. It's not anything like that. It's not like it's going to derail from playoffs. Yeah, it's not like it's gonna derail from their ratings or this and that. It's gonna affect very little. So like, there's not a lot of downside to it other than the fact that there can be more injuries and more at stake.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you know, I guess the argument is you got to accommodate that somehow. Like maybe another bye week, but then that extends the season another week. You know, so it's kind of like, well, what do you want to do? Because they could still start at the same time. It could just end later. You know what I mean? And then spring ball doesn't start until March or April anyway. So like it really wouldn't affect that either. You know, so I'm like, I can definitely see a conversation about it, and I don't think the average viewer is going to complain because it's more football, you know?
I mean, no. I think if anything, the players would probably be the ones to complain. I mean...
Getting paid a dickload of money to play 17 games a year.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Dickload of money.
It is true. Yeah, like, that's the other argument of it. Like, yeah, you might have more of a chance to get injured, but it's not like you're not getting compensated.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, as a football fan, I wouldn't be upset at it if it happened. Yeah. I would be like, well, I'll watch it, you know? It's gonna affect the season how it affects it, but I mean, I can't.
Because it's in the works right now.
It almost feels like it's not a necessity, but it's like if they're gonna do it, then I'll tune in. I'm still gonna be watching football.
Fuck this! I'm not just abandoning
Week 18.
They added a week. So yeah,
I'll tune back in for the playoff.
But I don't know too. It's like I mean, I don't know. Do you add another? I don't know if they add another bye week or not. I don't even know if that's on the table. I know that 18 games is on the table as something they're looking at. But I don't know if they'd add another bye week or not.
It probably won't. You think it'll happen this year?
No. It's too late. The schedule's already made too.
Yeah,
it's 17 games. But
that
that is on the table. Is a thing that they're really looking at. And it tells me if they're pushing it and they're really looking at it, it's highly doubtful that it's not going to happen. I think it's probably going to happen. I would say 80% it's going to happen at least.
That'd be terrible. No.
I don't think...
No, it wouldn't be terrible.
I mean, is it really that much different than 17?
No, it's no different. It just is like... It just feels like...
They're not going to add any more than 18.
It was 16.
They're not going to add any more than that.
For literally my entire time watching football, and then it was just 17. It feels like
3 years
so
ago.
recent.
I feel like they've only played... I feel like they've only played 2 seasons of 17, haven't they? Or is it more than that?
Probably 2. Maybe 3.
Yeah,
But within that range.
For a long, long time, yeah, it was only 16. Wasn't it 14 a long time before that? Damn.
Yeah.
Smacking around our sound system. No, not really, but the mic amps. Yeah. Bing! Yeah. Fucking,
No, it was 14 though, yeah.
Pussies. Okay.
But football was way more physical.
No, I know. Well, and like you see, clearly like that was a joke, but it's like now like you see too, even with all the precautions they take in the downtrend of concussions and everything else, the safety of helmets, there's still an enormity of injuries all the time. I mean, it's a physical game. What do you expect?
You could go, yeah. That's why they're all fired up going out there every week.
Every
week could be an injury.
These are big-bodied motherfuckers that are superior athletes, colliding at full force.
In pads.
What do you expect?
The pads make them more competent to hit harder. Too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. What do you expect to happen?
Yeah. That's the thing too. The quarterback now, it's like is so protected, so cushioned, and the wide receivers and running backs and tight ends are still just getting murked out there.
Yeah. They're getting paid though.
Yeah. Well, so is the fucking quarterback.
Well, but the quarterback. But that's the thing. It's like if the quarterback gets hurt, that's way more detrimental to the team.
Yeah. most of the time. But like, dude, there's receivers though out there. Like, if Justin Jefferson goes down for the Vikings, they're quiet as fuck. Or,
But they need somebody to throw to him. And
well, Kirk,
it is not going to be Sam Darnold.
yeah, what they got going on right now is not the answer, but
They wanted to secure him for the future regardless, because
yeah.
it's going to be a matter of time before J.J. McCarthy's in for Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold's not the answer. He's going to be in
hell no.
He's going to be in for, he looks like
You really
a
think
fucking schmuck.
You really think Sam Darnold's going to come in now?
Nobody thinks
turn
that.
it around.
If they think that, it must be their first year watching football.
And you know what? I would love as fuck for him to prove me wrong, though. If the Vikings went on a
Dude,
tear,
the
I'd
Vikings-
like Sam fucking Darnold.
The Vikings are getting last place in that division. And I don't even think that's up for debate.
And I kind of like the Vikings.
But that may be, and I'm not saying that out of hate for the Vikings.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's going to be a really good division. But that's probably going to be the division to watch. For years, the Packers dog walked every fucking team in that division. Now, that is like the division to watch this year.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, the AFC North obviously too, but like the NFC North, it's going to be competitive, man.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be insane. The Vikings going into it look like the shallowest
Are
roster.
the Bears really going to turn it around though?
I don't know how heavily. I think they have a shot to, but even despite that, the Lions and the Packers are gonna be dueling out, man. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
And the Packers have. I mean, I'd love to see Jordan Love carry on what he had going last season when he almost beat the Niners in the fucking NFC championship.
You know they're going to
game.
make a big, since he went on that tear last year, you know they're going to make a big deal out of Jordan Love versus Caleb Williams, first time ever.
But they're also
That
like
kind of shit.
there is an enormous amount of pressure on Caleb Williams.
Oh yeah.
Way more pressure than almost anybody else.
Oh yeah.
And
he ran his mouth enough in college to give himself that image, to give himself that pressure too. So it's like,
I don't know, man.
we saw this with Johnny Manziel. It worked in college. Johnny was a different
Dude,
story.
people
though.
are getting way carried away with it. They're like, oh, they're going. I think they're an excellent contender for the NFC Championship. Blah blah blah. It's like, ooh, I don't know, man.
I wouldn't go that far.
There's some damn good teams in there.
I mean, if you're from Chicago and you've been a lifelong Bears fan, sure you'd be saying that because this is your first hope in a while.
At least for once they pulled offensive moves and they went after offensive pieces instead of fucking their defense that is way behind the times. Way behind the times. It's not a defensive game.
Dude, no, they've done everything in their absolute power to just absolutely destroy, like, de-weaponize the fucking defense in the NFL. They've just tried to absolutely tear their game apart.
But it's a prettier game to watch when the offense is running on all cylinders. Like it's a much.
Yeah, but if the defense isn't actually able to try to shut you down to their full capacity,
they can't. The move now is drafting defensive players instead of paying for them for the most part.
Yeah.
And if they're elite like Aaron Donald, who's once in a fucking lifetime, that's a different story. But like most of the time, they're like, well, these are able-bodied young men. Let's draft these guys and let's pay for offensive pieces. And that's kind of the way the game shifted. And let's pay for quarterbacks and let's pay for the dude in like your Cowboys like got themselves into a situation with the Dak. It's almost like it's. And I know we've talked about it before, and I'm not even just bringing it up to shit on the whole scenario, but it's almost like a shitty situation because he hasn't. It's like, do you pay for him or do you? Because if you move on from him, what do you move on to? At the same time, if you pay for him, you're gonna overspend for him. What do you do?
and they have too many other pieces, I feel like, to try to let go of for him. That's the problem. Like, I don't feel like you want.
They're gonna have to overspend.
You don't want to lose CeeDee Lamb. You don't want to really lose Gallup. You don't want to lose Micah Parsons on the defensive line. Like he's a monster. It's just, even Trayvon Diggs. Like he's a great cornerback. It's just, I feel like there's a lot of other pieces on that team that I like that I'm like, I don't want to see all these pieces disappear to keep Dak, who hasn't really given the answer to this point. And I like Dak.
Not in January.
I'm a fan of Dak. Like he's given a lot of exciting moments throughout seasons of watching, Cowboys football. But it's also like he's also given me a lot of just angry, pissed off playoff games as well, where I'm like, this is not.
You're not going to hear the end.
I watched all year.
You're not going to hear the end of that Packers Cowboys thing for a while. Still, they talk about it on every analyst show all the time.
Yeah, well, that good thing I don't listen to the analysts. Fuck them.
But hey, man. It's because there was no rebuttal for that. There was no reason that should have happened.
Mike McCarthy needs to get the fuck on. He does. Jerry Jones, get the fuck on.
Yeah, right. Until he's dead. I still believe that this is the team. How? They haven't won in 30 years.
He probably thinks it's been like 3.
It's because he's been alive for 110.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't seem that long ago to him. So what was it again?
The NFL season potentially going to 18 games. I have to ask, though, before you say that, and not even to bring all this controversy up, too, going back to, like, our shit earlier, but, like, I mean, how do you feel about your Browns going into the season, too? Like, do you think...
I just have the villain.
Yeah, you just... because you like the pieces of shit! No, I'm kidding. No. You know what's funny is, like, those are the 2 higher you hold on your, like, totem pole as opposed to, like, the Panthers and Miami. Yeah. But, like, the Panthers and Miami have less stink on them in a lot of ways. But at the same time, they still haven't signed, like, not to bring all this up, too, because I just asked you about the Browns, but, like, the Tua thing, I think the big holdup on that is because they're just worried about his injury history already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As good as he's been. But it's like, what do you do? Because he was healthy for the most part and everything last year. But, what do you want to do?
I don't know. Quarterback swap. Send Dak to Miami. Send Tua to Dallas. Try it out for a year, see what happens.
What do you do with that honorable gentleman in Cleveland? I'm just fucking around.
I mean, what do you do with him? He's going to be there for however many more years.
Dude, there's a lot of people that just don't, not even to go deep on that, but there's a lot of people that just don't want to touch that because of that situation.
Yeah.
They don't even want to speak on it.
That's ironic use of words there. Don't want to touch that. Come on.
It's not even, But they don't even want to, they don't even want to conversate on that subject.
Yeah. I mean,
to clarify.
It's a rough speaking point for sure. Here's the thing though, it's like
they have some great offensive
I've kind of
tools.
accepted at this point that is the quarterback moving forward. So it's like, what is there really truly to do? They got, I've loved this team since I was younger, and I'm like a big fan of Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb, and like there's other parts of this team that I'm like really behind still.
They still have a great running game.
Amari Cooper's a receiver on the I really feel like Watson and Cooper could be a pretty powerful combo this year in all reality. I'm not sitting here I'm not buying a jersey of the guy, but a lot of people will.
Yeah.
So I've seen it, I follow him on like social media and shit, and I just see the opposite sides on every post. Basically, people like, oh yeah, fuck that creepo son of a bitch, blah, blah. And then other people are like, you don't like him, he's the goddamn quarterback now. Get the fuck out. Find a new team then. The NFL, like there's just two sides.
A lot of the leagues and shit are like, are just like, oh no, we're not gonna let that motherfucker back in here. The NFL's like, I'm gonna look the other way.
NFL, yeah, they don't give a damn, dude. It's insane some of the shit they get away with sometimes in there.
Yeah.
I can't believe, like, you've had guys in the past in the NFL and legit gangs and shit, like, playing in the NFL, man.
Yeah.
It's like, and, you know, not that, like, I love the NFL. You know,
No, I
I'm
do
a big
too.
fan of it.
It's the most profitable league out of every sports league.
It's very enjoyable.
And
to
it's got
watch.
the least games.
Yeah, but it's so intriguing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody, like, man, watching it with my girlfriend, though, trying to do that, like, I didn't realize how much she didn't know about football, you know? And, like, trying to explain it to somebody is, like...
It's not on paper, bless you.
Thanks.
It is not on paper as easy to explain. Like, baseball's pretty straightforward to explain, I feel like.
And there are all these new rules and penalties and things that are, like, they do new shit in the NFL every year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't even know sometimes. I'm like, well, I guess we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, it's
I would say fair, though. For
going
your
18
topic.
games. Okay.
Because, like, if it happens, I'm not going to be, like, angry at
They'll
it. But
they'll obviously eliminate
I'm
a
not
preseason
also
game.
sitting here like, let's go, fucking 18.
Well,
you know?
and that's what they'll do is they'll eliminate a preseason game.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, if a lot of the stars don't play anyway, then it doesn't really make a difference, and it makes the NFL a bigger profit.
Yeah.
So
How many is there? Like, 3 or 4?
now there's 3 because they eliminated one. There used to be 4.
Yeah.
So there's going to be 2, and then. But I mean, they still have their camps. They have their, they're professional ball players. They'll be able to be ready. Plus, it takes a few weeks into the season anyway. That's why you see so many injuries the first 3 weeks of the season.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
because you haven't been in live game action
In a
for
minute.
many months.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I hate to say it, but it's like it happens every year. A star in the first few weeks of the season is going to go down, probably more than one.
Yeah.
And we have no idea who. We don't know when. We don't know for what team. But it happens
That's how it goes in the
every
NFL.
fucking year.
I mean, it's the league more than pretty much any other sports league too, where guys just, oh, big star on this team out for the year. It's just like it just happens every week on teams.
Dude, last year, what was it? It was like 66 quarterbacks. Something like that. It was 60 to 60, somewhere in there. But in the 60s, 32 teams in the NFL, just for anybody out there that doesn't know. 60, let's say it is 60, because I think it is 66. Like 66 quarterbacks started a game last year.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. It's not good.
Just throwing whoever they can out there. Oh, fuck it.
And there's only some teams that had like the same guy basically start every game. Not many.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, do we want to get to one of mine here?
yeah, let's do it.
Alright. So, let's just say the Punk McIntyre feud at this point. Like, up to this point.
We talked a lot about this feud on this pod.
Yeah.
But
just overall,
it's good.
because I feel like since the failed cash-in moment
Mm-hmm.
of, like, Punk fucking him over again when he went to cash in the briefcase the same night he won it, a lot of people were displeased with that. I saw a lot of negative comments about it, they already burnt the money in the bank. Like, they should have given it to somebody else if they were just going to do this with it, just to try to enhance this feud more and blah, blah, blah. They didn't need to do that. This feud's already, which I get to a point, and it is kind of just getting, people are kind of it's just getting to a point where they're like, oh, he fucked him over. Oh, he beat him down. Oh, now he's fucking him over again.
Mhm.
So it's like, but it's just building and building to a point where it just actually feels like hateful. Like, it feels like an actual blood feud where these guys,
Mm-hmm.
fucking despise each other.
I honestly,
You know?
it might even. I didn't see. I did hear a little bit of the murmur about it, but I didn't hear or I didn't look at some of the comments you may have seen. But I disagree with a lot of those people because I don't think every single year, the Money in the Bank has to be like, oh man, who's it gonna be? And it's gotta be surprise cashing, and they gotta be successful, and it's gotta happen. I don't think. I think the shock now is the fact that it's blown right away. Last year, it took them a long time. It took Damian a long time to cash in. Now, it's blown right away and it's over. I think you gotta keep it. You gotta keep it consistently inconsistent for there not to be any sort of like pattern, and it's gotta be unpredictable. You know what I mean? I don't think it needs to be a fucking. The fan base a lot of times thinks that. Oh, it needs to be successful and it has to happen for every single Money in the Bank winner. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because sometimes, now the thing...
can't go that way forever.
Now the beauty of it is, guess what? That's off the table for the next year. But guess what's on the table? There's a meaningful Punk-McIntyre feud going on. Cena declared his last wrestling year of all time, saying he's going to retire at the end of 2025. The Rock is still maybe involved with the Cody Rhodes feud. Roman's gonna come back. Cody's still on top with the belt.
Rollins is like back in Punk's face too.
There is a number of Damian's still champ. There is a number of things going on that are interesting enough that you don't need the fucking Money in the Bank winner to be present to make this worthwhile.
Yeah, the men's division,
and to be honest, like,
shit happening.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In a way, I'm kind of like, this is kind of interesting because now they already got that out of the way. That's not going to be a factor the next year with going forward. And there is so much else going on, like between it being Cena's last year, between Punk coming back into the fold and him and Drew finally having a match. There's just in Roman eventually returning, Rock eventually returning, Cody is champ, Seth back. There is a number of factors. Gunther in contention. Like, there is so much stuff going on that I don't think any of the feuds need that to be meaningful. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think honestly at that point it gets in the way a little bit because we just saw that it was a surprise at Mania, which is the biggest stage it can happen. Now we get it out of the way for the next year, and everybody that we've built up to this point, we see every feud, every fucking storyline, everything develop from this point. Yeah. I don't think you have to have that factor for it to be interesting whatsoever. So I fucking I'm not saying like I despise it or anything like that, but I wholeheartedly disagree with the people that are like, they think that they know how to run it better. It's like, man, things are interesting at a level right now that I have not seen in a very, very, very long time. Yeah. So I'm like,
we're running it well.
Probably more than a decade, for sure.
Yeah, it is kind of like, and also I feel like too, the men's Money in the Bank is the one held on to longer. Tiffany won the women's. Mm-hmm. Nia has a good chance of winning the belt.
Now the women's one is more unpredictable,
and Nia and Tiffany are kind of teaming up. So if Nia wins the belt, Tiffany's got the Money in the Bank. They could kind of build with that for a while. Like you could have the women's Money in the Bank be the one that's held on to longer this time because that one's always the one they blow in like a month or less.
So now they can get mileage out of that and utilize. They have a lot, obviously, they have a lot of great women talent at the same time. It's like if they have that factor, then you've built up a lot of the men in their, in the circle of competitors that they have to where, like, I don't think it needs it. And you can keep the Money in the Bank on that side of things. And meanwhile, there are so many storylines brewing in the men's side that it's like, that doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's a lot that can happen between now and Mania, and there is a number of storylines that can transpire from now until then. So I think it's interesting.
It definitely is. I even feel like SummerSlam this year is going to be sick. Even just the few matches we know. Like, I guess it hasn't been announced. I guess won't get Punk McIntyre. I don't know if
That's
he's healthy.
But that's wild. Like, I mean, maybe it hasn't been long enough. I don't know. They've got him really
been long enough.
They've got him really involved. It takes a while for triceps to heal, though.
I thought you just meant for the rivalry. I'm like,
no,
we're ready.
No, it takes a while for his fucking, especially as an older man now. You know, if he was 25, it probably wouldn't be as big of a deal.
Yeah.
But
we know that Nia's gonna face Bailey for the belt. Gunther's gonna face Damian for the belt.
You think he's getting that fucking taken off?
I think Gunther's taking it.
Yeah.
Because he's Bash at Berlin later in the month.
It feels like that.
And I mean, honestly, Damian had a damn good run. He beat Drew in Scotland.
That's why they've kept it on him, to give him a credible run even over some of these guys.
Like, some of it has been like, whatever finishes, but he still has had a run with the belt. Like, heels generally don't win matches in the most credible ways all the time. What do we got here? Yeah, Damian and Gunther. People think Bailey and Nia, those are the only confirmed at the moment. People think it's going to be Cody versus Solo for the belt. Logan versus LA Knight.
That's happening.
That's definitely happening for the United States title. Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley for the women's world title. That's probably happening for sure too. Punk and McIntyre saying it might happen.
It feels like that should be confirmed by now, though, doesn't it?
They haven't confirmed most of the card. There's only 2 matches confirmed.
What the fuck? It's like it's fucking 2 weeks out. Or like whatever.
Yeah, we're halfway through July.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's a little more than that, but I mean that's still like by the time we see more shows and everything, we're gonna be there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It could be a fire card though.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God, dude. I always stand up for SummerSlam. I'm a fucking SummerSlam dude.
There's been some really disappointing SummerSlams.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like all the time. I'm just saying
I want
like
it to be a fire card.
There has been some that I've been like, you expect title changes and you're like, man, this is gonna be a refreshment of this and this, and then like no belt changes hands, the fucking wrong guys go over, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? That's happened on a number of SummerSlams. Yeah. You're like, God damn it! Like nothing feels like it changed. Only the heels pissed you off more, or like whatever, like we were kids and shit. It's like, what the fuck? What the hell was the even point of that?
It's like the biggest party of the summer.
Yeah, it's like you should have done that at fucking,
Hell in a Cell in October.
Or Judgment Day or fucking
Extreme Rules
or Capital Punishment or something. That was way too badass of a name for that to be a shitty pay-per-view.
Well, they did it just because they were in the Capitol.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like
what a terrible
use of it. It wasn't even like Capital Punishment. Could have been like, you could have made it like a fucking prison theme.
Yeah.
But instead you made it like
you could have made it
fucking forefathers.
You could have made it like an electric chair match.
We're not
a lethal injection.
We're not doing 2000s WCW.
You could have made it a lethal injection match.
And the guy just is never seen again. How the fuck you book that?
Well, they fucking buried people alive, and we saw him fucking.
Well, that's the Undertaker.
Fucking 14 times over.
Yeah. Oh, Undertaker pretty much lost all the time in buried alive.
I know.
Matches.
He was like a master of casket matches, but he lost buried alive matches. It's like, damn.
He lost a buried alive match to fucking Mr.
He
McMahon.
could be put.
Nobody loses to Mr. McMahon.
He could be put in a coffin, but he can't be put under the dirt. Yeah. Or well, I guess he could be, but he can't be put in a coffin.
It's a damn shame.
Wild. So, the Drew McIntyre Punk feud up to this point.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say fair. I still believe in it.
I do too. I just hope the payoff
I do
when they
too.
actually step in the ring is worth it.
But that's why it's got to be it's got to still be a cliffhanger because the first match is not the end all be all.
No, SummerSlam if they wrestle at SummerSlam, it'll probably be a singles match. It still could be good.
Yeah.
I could see Punk getting one off.
And nothing ends
on Drew.
at SummerSlam either.
And then Drew getting even more pissed, and then them having a more extreme hardcore match next to Drew maybe winning that one, and then a third one. Maybe Hell in a Cell.
Doesn't it feel like if they have the first one though that Drew should win after Punk fucking him over though a lot of the time?
Maybe.
Maybe that's not what the crowd wants to see, but it would build heat for Drew, and it would be like, oh fuck. Like, Punk got his after fucking Drew over so many times.
I could see that. But, yeah, the only thing Drew's really got up on Punk
I think Drew should win the first
is
one.
that Drew bloodied up and beat up Punk in Chicago. Like, before or after Clash of the Castle.
And see, that gets swept under the rug because Punk keeps fucking him over.
Yeah. And, I don't know, dude. I could see Punk, like, getting a roll up on him or something at some point in the match. And just fucking him up.
That's a way to get away with a Punk victory without it being definitive. And or even he could roll him up and then Drew beats the shit out of him after the match, you know, something like that too, to where Punk won the battle but Drew wins the war kind of thing. At least in the first encounter.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see something like that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be kind of surprised if Drew won the first.
I don't see Drew not just knocking his lights out some way or another the first time.
I feel like he'll have a majority of the offense, but he'll lose.
Yeah, it could happen too. I quit!
He's running on such high emotion that Punk's gonna sneak one in on him.
It's been a long time since we've seen a feud built up this much before a match is had.
Yeah.
You know? I can't even think of the last one.
Yeah, they're like Triple H and Shawn, man. They're running a fucking pretty good ship. DX is in there, spray painting the fucking offices.
The anti-heroes have become the anti-establishment have become the establishment.
Yeah, and it's fucking great.
Yeah, they've been there. They know. But yeah, I would definitely say fair. I still believe in the feud. I'm not saying like to a fucking T, oh man, this is the perfect. I don't know what the perfect thing is because this is, in a way, it's unprecedented in recent history. Like, Punk's obviously got to deal with this within the confines of an injury. We don't know what his availability is after this. So it's like, for what they're doing, I feel like they're really building. They went they're going at least twice as hard with it in terms of them interrupting each other and them getting the better of each other and all that. At least twice as hard as I thought they were going to, though. I figured it wasn't going to be like this.
Yeah.
But it is
like
so much.
Yeah. Get the chance.
Oh, it's so much more. I didn't figure they would go to this level, but they've continued to keep it on the forefront. So it's remained interesting, you know, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess I'll throw you another one, a much more simple one. We'll go to the food route for a second here. And I don't know if we've ever talked about them on here or not, but we'll throw an old, I guess a fast food side, but really aside from, you could probably get them elsewhere too. What do you think of onion rings?
I haven't got them in a good while. I used to really like them. Like, if a place had onion rings over fries, I'd get them, you know, most of the time. But
for like mott sticks, oh, that's a great side too.
I've gone fries over onion rings a lot recently. I don't know. I'm not a huge onion guy. It depends on the onion ring. I like them crispy. I like a lot of breading. I don't like a fat ass fucking onion in there.
But it is an onion ring, man.
I know. But if I bite it and this fat juicy onion just pulls out of all the breading, I'm kind of out.
I think onions are fucking delightful.
There's
such a good bitterness.
I like them on top of burger.
Yeah.
But, you know.
It's kind of like I feel the same way about like mustard and like coffee. It's like the bitterness is like, I fucking love it.
Yeah, I like some coffee. Beer is the same way.
Yeah.
Mustard, I've kind of grown to like more.
It's
over
good.
time.
Like a brat is perfect with yellow mustard and barbecue sauce. That's like the top shelf. I fucking love doing that. It's the way to eat it right there.
What kind of barbecue sauce?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not really preferential to a certain kind. I wouldn't say. There's like a kind up there, like that my grandpa gets. I'm like, I don't necessarily know what he's tried, like what he has bought before that I've tried it with. I don't even know what, because I don't remember the last time I bought barbecue sauce myself. I do like it, but I don't remember it's probably when we were at the apartment, or sometime in the midst of that I'm like, I can't even remember what I bought when I would buy it, but I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not.
barbecue sauce.
I'm not overly. I'm not really that way with ketchup or mustard though either. I'm like, I'm not or like even tartar sauce. I'm not overly like bought on that I have to get a certain kind of those things. I'm more that way with ranch and hot sauce than I am mustard, ketchup, barbecue, mayonnaise,
You gotta get
that kind of stuff.
JR's barbecue sauce, man.
JR barbecue sauce.
It's the good stuff.
You're like doing the impression that one week, I was just like, and this guy was eating chocolate. But
yeah, man.
You're like, baby. But yeah, I don't know. Like, and honestly, like, sometimes, especially like ketchup, like that shit some of the time it doesn't matter. Like, there's people out there like, oh no, it's gotta be a certain kind, and whatnot. It's like I don't.
The Whataburger stuff's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that spicy one I bought. I have that one up there too.
Yeah, all the ketchup. They're spicy and they're fancy. Are both good fucking ketchups.
Mm-hmm.
They got a pretty good sauce.
But I am way more particular on ranch and hot sauce than pretty much all the other kinds.
Yeah, barbecue sauce. I like most all of it. There's some. That's the thing though. There's a lot of even flavors within barbecue sauce. You can get
steak
sweeter
sauce,
ones, hotter ones.
It's got to be A1 because that is the top notch.
Yeah, if you get some.
I'm not saying the other ones aren't even good, but A1 just kicks
if you
the
get
shit.
store brand steak sauce, where it's just a steak sauce on the bottle, it doesn't have even near the like.
They literally all pretend like they're half as good as fucking A1, and they're not.
Yeah, there was. I think I told you that story where there was this kid that my cousin was dating this lady, and her kid, he was autistic and he loved A1. He loved that shit. And we were like having dinner in the country one time, and he's like, "You guys got A1?" And my cousin Junior like pulled out steak sauce, and it was like the store brand, just cheap shit. And he like gave it to him, and the kid just like looked at it and he's like, "Oh, I'd rather put dog shit on here." It's like, he was offended.
Yeah.
Like, that is not fucking A1.
Dude, it's not. It's I've had stuff that's like store brand that's not horrible, but I mean A1's like the brand. Like, there's certain stuff that is hard to be replaced. You know what I mean? There's certain stuff that is harder to sub in or out than others. You know what I mean? Because like, I do enjoy other types of hot sauce, but the general ones that you get from the store, like Frank's is number one. You know what I mean? If you're going to a store's selection, Frank's either original or Frank's Buffalo are both superb options. Depends on honestly, at that point, it really depends on if you want a thinner or thicker hot sauce. Yeah. Which the original is hotter than the Buffalo, but the Buffalo is really tasteful still. That hot wing dip we just ate was made with the main hot sauce. I did put little drips of the original in it too, but it was made with mainly the Buffalo instead of the original. But the last few times I made it with the original because it's a little bit hotter. But that time I put mainly the Buffalo and just put some other drips of because I was like, man, what if this isn't gonna be as spicy as it usually is? I'm like, it needs to be. Just fucking drip it in there. So I'm like, man, but Frank's is so good. And like
It is
Louisiana's good. Like there's other ones that are good.
Yeah, Crystal's passable.
Yeah, there's other ones that are and for the longest time I used that instead, and then like as the years went by, I'm like Frank's is like gonna make this the best.
Yeah.
As far as the store bought ones, that's like one of the best that you can buy. Even like dipping, if you're gonna just dip chicken or dip like nuggets or chicken fries or like you have something else, just throw it on something. Frank's is good for all of that shit.
Yeah.
But
Good old Frank's.
yeah.
We should get him to sponsor us.
That'd be a hell of a sponsor. It really would be.
We could just do the advertisement. I put that shit on it.
I would do it.
It'd be good.
That'd be make an absurd fucking commercial for it.
So what was the onion rings?
rings.
You know what? I'm gonna say they're a little overrated.
Overrated?
Yeah, you can find them like damn near everywhere, and there's other sides that definitely outrank them that you can't find near as many places.
I think jalapeno poppers and mod sticks are probably better.
I think so too. And a lot of times I take fries over them nowadays, so it's like
Not crinkle, but all the
Yeah.
other ones, yeah.
I'd say a little overrated. Yeah. All
So
right.
maybe at White Castle they went over, but not a lot of other big places, yeah.
If you put a shitload of cheese on top of them fries.
But
you
see,
can eat 'em.
it's not the fries that are good at that point. It's because it's drenched in cheese.
Well,
You might as well be eating a potato.
but their burgers make up for it.
Yeah.
White Castle, I fucking love.
No, their
them.
chicken rings are great too.
They are
Their
fantastic.
chicken
Their
with
sauces
cheese.
are awesome.
Their that 1921 burger is tremendous.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the chicken rings are great too. The chicken with cheese, so good.
Yeah, they should sponsor us too.
Mm-hmm.
All
They
right,
should. They oughta.
what do we think here? Dots pretzels. We've been eating a lot of them on breaks,
Yeah.
throughout recent history. I feel like they're really taking off.
They are.
She's really taking off.
They're
Dot, you see
introducing-
her on the back of the bag all the
Dot?
time. Yeah. You see Dot on the back
What a
of the bag.
fucking silly ass name for anybody.
Hey,
Dad.
man, well, I'll tell you what. She can have a silly name. She makes a damn good pretzel.
Makes sense.
She does. It's her
Yeah.
recipe.
I mean, they're good. They're
She's
man.
fucking copyrighted it.
They're tremendous. I mean, I enjoy the hell out of them, honestly.
Oh yeah, they're
But-
so good.
A lot. They've gained a lot of popularity.
Yeah,
and
they
like,
are. I've gotten
whenever
real
you
popular.
see that they're getting end caps and big spaces in the store, you know they're getting very
more and more
popular.
flavors, bigger
Yeah.
and bigger
Yeah.
sections.
I would probably say fair for that one
Yeah, it's
because
would
I
say
think
that
it's
too.
growing at a respectable rate.
And like I haven't tried one that I'm like this is not good. You know what I mean?
Oh
They're
yeah, they've all
good.
been good. The regular season ones, the Southwest ones,
Oh,
the
yeah.
cinnamon ones,
Mm.
the fucking what is it, sour cream and onion, the honey mustard ones.
Mm.
Did I forget any?
Parmesan garlic.
Oh, anything that's flavored, that's gonna be good. The
yeah, they've
Parm-
got a lot of good ones.
Dude, you know how much I love hot sauce stuff, and the Parmesan garlic wings from St. Louis Pizza and Wings. Oh my God, those might be better than the hot. Those are so good. They probably are better than the hot.
Yeah, you're crazy about them wings.
And I love hot shit. Yeah, I fucking love spicy stuff. But yeah, those are, but yeah, I'm a fan of every one of those that I've tried.
Yeah, they're all good. But yeah, they do. I do feel like a lot of people will bring them up. If you start talking about snack food, oh, you tried the Dots.
Mm-hmm.
They're gaining a lot more popularity.
The cinnamon
Man,
ones.
she deserves it.
The cinnamon ones taste like cinnamon twist, just obviously pretzels instead of like a little
Yeah.
puff thing.
It's like kind of like cinnamon sugar pretzel.
Dude, honestly, I went to
Auntie Anne's.
I went to Taco Bell. I want to say last week, and I will say, whenever you're not like getting it delivered, obviously, because then you get slapped with this fee and that fee and tax, everything else. But whenever you're just picking it up and you place an online order, in terms of today's climate, with everything that's so expensive, they're actually pretty fucking cheap still.
Oh yeah, so their value cravings menu,
Yeah.
you can get some shit on there for cheap.
Yeah, what I got was a I guess a quesarito, but I ordered Taco Bell breakfast, and because you were like, oh man, me and Haley tried to order it, several times, and they just for some reason they were out of breakfast and shit. I thought about that, But I went there.
We always were like right on the cusp and ordered too late. Always.
So I went there after I was I think I was depositing some money, and it was like 10:05 last like a week ago or so, and I was right, but I was it was like off like Richardson, like right up there and shit. But I was right across from it, only like 100 or 200 feet away. And I was like, well, it's still breakfast. And, whew, damn. It's, it's breakfast until like 10:45. So I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to order it. And they whipped that shit up real quick. I got one of those, and then I got like a bacon, egg, and cheese burrito. And that shit was made. The only alarming thing was, and I was like, oh, fuck. I might have to order something else. Or I might have to double up the burritos, or I might have to add a drink, or I might have to do something else. So my order came out to $6.66, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah,
but so I got the quesarito, the bacon, egg, and cheese one, and then and then the and then the fucking this, and I was just like, damn. I was like, that's not bad for the amount of for the volume of the items that I got,
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, no, that's me and Haley. That's one of the spots we go to. A decent amount, not too much, but every now and then I'm like, man, it sounds good. We actually got it, I think, this past weekend. But it's like, it's just like you said, if you go pick it up, like you can get quite a bit of like shit to where you're like, I'm full as fuck. And you did not spend $10. Yeah.
Domino's too, man. Like it's cheap as fuck if you just go pick it up, and like you get a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Cheap as fuck in today's climate, at least, which brings us back to the first conversation of the pod.
It's a lot of the conversations on the pod lately.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just the sad truth of things.
Oh shit.
Not
Fucking
to leave it
stepping
on that
everything.
somber note. But,
No, fuck that.
This
isn't Devon Point 2.0.
We come from the same
if you wanted to steer something positive, you should have had me on. Whatever he said. It was along those lines.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, that's what I would say. So yeah, I was gonna say, what was your final one?
God's pretzel.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's reasonable. I would have said onion rings were fair or maybe overrated. I don't think they're underrated, because that's the thing. It's like, if they're gonna be compared to the other sides, it's like I don't know if I've ever preferred onion rings to a place that also has like mott sticks.
Yeah.
Everywhere doesn't have poppers, but almost every place that has the onion rings has the mott sticks too. And I'm like, man, it's hard to go wrong, because whenever a place does mott sticks right, like Arby's that have fucking perfect ones, they're undefeated.
Yeah, mott sticks are pretty damn good.
So
they're usually fresh as fuck too, because you gotta drop them.
Yeah. And occasionally, you work there, you drop a few too many so you can take them home with you.
Yeah. Or just
As
eat
we
them in the
know.
back real quick.
Yeah. Pop them in. That's what they're for, popping them in the back. Well, I guess that's
Sneak
mods,
it
but
away, fucking down.
Just dipping those in like cheese and hot sauce and shit. I would do that shit. Well, it's about that time.
Solid effort.
It has. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. So we have now overcome over 100 episodes since we mounted our large comeback from that date in 2022, and we just basically started going week to week from there on. And yeah, that's over, because that was our comeback episode is 35. This is 139. So we've been going strong for fucking well over 2 years.
That's crazy.
So, well, thank you. Whether you were an early tune-in person or now, or you followed us somewhere along this journey,
whenever you hopped on the train,
we appreciate you very much. So, we'll keep listening, and we will keep delivering hardcore. And this was the last episode of the 130s. As next episode will be.
back.
Nope. a milestone of 140, and we will continue to slice and dice from there on. Got a big milestone coming up later in the year in 150.
Yeah.
So it will be it'll be a moment to remember. It'll be a good one. But well, any closing thoughts?
No, man. I think I've spent all my thoughts.
Yeah. I know it's time for
My
that
head hurts.
sleep for sure.
My eyes hurt.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for supporting, and we are excited to stick with you for, basically the second half of the year here, and we will continue to deliver at an alarming rate.
Hell yeah.
And we will see you guys soon for 140. Take care of yourselves out there. Until next time.